The Peoria Sports Complex is a site this afternoon of a contest between two teams that, according to where they finished last year, should contend for a playoff spot in 2008 as the Seattle Mariners host the Chicago Cubs. Hello, everybody. Along with Harold Reynolds, I'm Billy Sample. Ed Randall will join us later in the broadcast. And Harold, the Cubs last year won 85 games, made the playoffs. Your former team, the Seattle Mariners, won 88 games, did not make the playoffs. As you look at your team, is there something that you can point to that will help get them over the hump?
Well, you know, I still consider the Mariners my team, so I'll say, okay, look at my
10
team.
10 years there, I guess so.
Well, if we'd have won 88 games when I was playing, I'd have been elated, but that doesn't get it done nowadays. But the number one key, I think, to the Mariners is Richie Sexson. He has to bounce back, swing the bat like he's capable of, that they paid him the big contract for, and that means driving in big runs, hitting the home runs, and also hitting for average. I think that's number one on their list. The second thing, they have to find some bench depth where you can rest those frontline players and still not lose a step. I think that's important. And the third thing for me is getting Eric Bedard makes a statement that it's now or never. You know, they got rid of the young players, and they're saying, now's the time. We really feel like we're a playoff contending team. Let's go do it.
Well, I know when you talk about depth that the Cubs have the great frontline players, Lee, Soriano, Ramirez, but I wonder, are they deep enough to stave off the Milwaukee Brewers?
Well, it's so funny. You know, one of the great personalities in baseball is Lou Piniella, and I got a chance to spend some time with him over there, and he's thinking the same thing.
Let me hear Lou.
He was looking at his board going, I don't know if we got any players at all around here. You know, so they're looking for depth. That's the number one thing for the Cubs, and it's particularly in a National League game where you have to have double switches and different things. He needs players to come off the bench and be productive. The second thing for the Cubs is because they're not very deep, they have to stay healthy. And the frontline guys, they've already had Ramirez banged up this spring a little bit. Soriano's been banged up. And so that's the second key, is staying healthy. The third is Alfonso Soriano, one of the most exciting players in the game. And Lou Piniella actually said he reminds me of Ricky Henderson, a guy who can take over a game. You know, the interesting thing is will they hit him first or will they hit him fifth down in the order? And that's what they got to figure out this spring.
Well, I tell you what, there's some people around here who want to know more about the Cubs. So we go to our colleague, Brian McRae, with the Cubs organizational report.
It's been 100 years since Chicago Cubs last won a World Series championship. A multitude of changes in 2007 brought home a division title for the club before they were swept out of the playoffs by the Diamondbacks in the division series. While that was considered to be a successful campaign, the club feels they can achieve even more in 2008.
75 years or 85 years, 85 years or 105. We need to win a World Series for the city of Chicago.
It's something that's constantly going to be thrown up at them and that they have to deal with. And so I think what we've tried to do is bring in players that can handle that kind of additional burden.
With 3/5 of the starting rotation already set, the Cubs have 4 pitchers fighting for the final 2 spots.
We'll just see how it washes out. I mean, you've got Zambrano, Lilly, Rich Hill, and Marquis pitched pretty well for us last year. Appearances looks like there's a little bit of abundance, but that usually doesn't work out to be the case.
The nice thing is that we'll have some guys, you know, step up and fill those roles.
After spending nearly $300 million last offseason, the Cubs made only one major pickup this year, bringing over Japanese import Kosuke Fukudome.
He's a player who's used to the spotlight, used to the big stage, and we feel like he's going to step right in and not be intimidated at all by what gets thrown at him. And we think he can be successful very quickly.
You know, he's as advertised, you know, hard worker. The guy's here early and one of the last ones to leave. Swings the bat well, runs well. His defense out there looks really good.
Sports Complex and the crowd, a big Cubs crowd here this afternoon, even though they are on the road as we start our second week of spring training. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you as you look at the wind blowing a little bit towards left center field, and the temperature, as I said, a little cooler than we've seen it in the past few days. 77 degrees has been the norm. 79 has been the high. 64 this afternoon with the breeze blowing out in the northeast at 15 miles an hour, although it is sunny. It's not overcast. It's a good day, except it is just a little cold. And the third member of our broadcast crew, Ed Randall, is down on the field. Eddie, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Mel Stottlemyre is the new pitching coach for the Seattle Mariners. He left the New York Yankees after 2005, worked for the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2006 and 2007. It turns out his son, Mel Jr., is the Arizona pitching coordinator. So Mel said, give me a job or I'm going to change the will. Now he is back in the major leagues with the Seattle Mariners with a tremendous staff, and said, you know what, they picked up 2 good pitchers for me recently, getting Eric Bedard and also picking up Carlos Silva to go along with Jared Washburn, today's starter, and Felix Hernandez, and also with Miguel Batista. So they have 2 #1 starters in Hernandez and in Eric Bedard. Stottlemyre said to me that he feels that potentially this could be as good a starting rotation as anyone he's ever worked with. And remember, this guy has worked with 5 World Championship clubs, and he compares these guys potentially to the 1986 New York Mets of Dwight Gooden and Ron Darling and Sid Fernandez and Bobby Ojeda. So that is quite a compliment. Guys?
Indeed, Eddie, quite a compliment. The question is whether or not, even though J.J. Putz is throwing extremely well and he can close out a game as well as anybody else, that Mariano Rivera that he had as a pitching coach with the Yankees, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. But, you know, the interesting thing here, too, is Felix Hernandez. I think he's the wild card in that rotation. The young man came up. He's 21 now, and he's slimmed down. He's in great shape. And Mel Stottlemyre is a great coach at being able to get guys to reach their maximum potential. This kid throws high 90s, got great breaking stuff. He could be a dominant pitcher if guided the right direction.
And Stottlemyre back at home. He's a Washington native, and he's had some good success, as had Jared Washburn. He had a lot of success with the Angels, took them to the playoffs 3 times, 10-15 last year, as you see there. But that's a little misleading because he had 17 quality starts, innings in which he'd gone, games in which he'd gone 6 innings and given up 3 or fewer earned runs.
Well, he's a guy that's going to come after you, and particularly in spring training. I was talking with him in the locker room today and said, Jared, what do you work on in the spring? And he said, well, I take my nap like I normally do in the regular season, which was a little bit of a surprise. But he said, honestly, spring training for me, the key is to get out of here and stay healthy. And so that's his big thing. I want to throw all my pitches, but at the end of spring, in 6 weeks, I want to be healthy to start the season.
And this is the lineup he'll face this afternoon, Harold. Ronnie Cedeno leads off in center. Ryan Theriot, the shortstop. Kosuke Fukudome in right field. Matt Merton cleans up in left. Micah Hoffpower, the first baseman. Jake Fox, he has homered already in the spring. He's the DH. Luis Figueroa at second. Alex Centron, the third baseman. And Coy Hill behind the plate.
Well, I think the key, like we talked about in the open, is that the Cubs are looking for depth. And it starts right here with Ronnie Cedeno, leadoff hitter. Where's he going to play? Can he play in backup guys, or is he going to start?
In center field this afternoon, takes a fastball high. Can play a little shortstop, too.
Yeah, I was surprised. You know, he is a tremendous shortstop and really one of the top talents to see him loop the ball in left center.
And running it down, Jeremy Reed, crowd number 1.
You know, Cedeno's an interesting guy. As you saw Jeremy Reed there drop that ball. He caught it and dropped it, throwing it back in. So it constitutes. You ever do that in the outfield, Billy?
Yeah, but they said I didn't catch it after I caught it and dropped it, so I had to hold on to it a little bit longer. Ryan Theriot, the batter. Young man out of LSU. It's a good program. They come to the major leagues, it seems, and know how to play.
Well, I got a chance to see Ryan play in college, and you knew then that he was going to be a guy that was potentially going to have a chance to be an impact player in the big leagues, not just make it. And really last year was somewhat of a breakout season for him. He got a chance to play every day towards the middle of the season, and he was a big part of the Cubs turning it around.
2-1, line foul. Off to the right. 1-2 the count. And he scored 80 runs with a 266 average last year as well for a team that didn't score a lot of runs. The Cubs have been working on it, trying to work on base percentage, as are the Mariners, trying to work on getting people on in front of their heavy hitters. That is booped as well to left center. Ichiro charging, and he'll have to play it on a hop.
Well, Billy, that was that wind you were talking about right there. It looked like he had a chance, and then the ball started to die on him. And the main thing, again, spring training, you don't want to get hurt. You know, you see Ichiro half diving for a ball, you're kind of holding your breath if you're a Mariner.
A couple of seasons in center now is Ichiro. After starting and winning the Gold Glove every year he was in right field. It's a shame to get hurt in spring training.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Where's Mr. Fukudome?
He's the guy of the hour, really. This is the guy you got to take a good look at. Talking with Lou Piniella and most of the Cubs staff, they said he's a mixture between Ichiro, as you see him kind of
a little bail to him.
There's that little bail. And then the other thing they reminded me of was Hideki Matsui from the Yankees, because he's got that kind of power. So they feel like he's a kind of a tweener between the two of those guys.
He was a hitting star for Team Japan in the series in which Japan defeated the U.S. a bit low and inside.
Well, it's kind of funny. If you remember when Ichiro came over, his first spring training, you looked at him and he was hitting little dribblers everywhere, and it was like, that's not going to work. And next thing you know, he goes out and throws 200 hits out there. So sometimes spring training doesn't gauge exactly how good a guy might be.
3-6-3, not in time. World Baseball Classic was where Fukudome really impressed everyone. And Japan, as we look at the defense, Reed, Suzuki, Ichiro in center, and Brad Wilkerson over from the Rangers last year. Bloomquist, Willie can play everywhere. Kiger, the shortstop. Jose Lopez, he's an all-star. LaHare at first. And a battery of Washburn and Jeff Clement. I started to say that Japan won, but they had a big assist from Mexico, which defeated the United States in a game in which Mexico really didn't have anything to gain or to win. But it certainly helped Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic. The 0-1 to Matt Mertens inside. And the count evens at 1-1.
Yeah, the World Baseball Classic was interesting in itself. I just thought the time of year most American players or guys that play over here are not getting themselves ready for games that early, and I just didn't think they were quite ready. When it comes around next time, maybe they'll prepare a little bit earlier, but if it was a different time of year, I think we might have seen a different result.
The 1-1 line drive, base hit in the left field. Soft line drive by Matt Merton. The Cubs have 2 on, 1 out for Micah Hoffbauer.
We'll have to ask Matt about that if he is one of our guests later on after the game. And during the game, and in the books, it's a line drive. You go home and say, yeah, I got one today. You just kind of build on things. In spring training, when guys are throwing mainly fastballs, changeups, you want to try as a hitter, let the ball get back on you as much as you can, and just try to make contact. And if it lands up for a hit, that's a bonus early in the games like this.
Now, you're a high-round draft pick. You knew I was going to bring it up at some point in the broadcast. When you went to your first spring training, did you make the club? Did you know you were going to make the club, or you were going pretty much because you were going to be there for the future?
It was more of a future thing. In those days, you got invited to camp because you had pretty good minor league seasons and you earned an opportunity to go, and they wanted to get a look at you. But today, a lot of guys put that in their contracts when they sign and different things like that. So it's a little bit different.
Popped him up down the left field line. Bloomquist, Willie, watch out for the tarp, Willie.
See that wind already making a difference. That ball looked like it was going to be about in the left center field, and there would be a play by the shortstop, and next thing you know, Bloomquist is diving over a tarp to catch it.
15, 16 miles an hour, the wind blowing from right to left.
One of the adjustments you have to make when you're playing in Arizona is, the sky, there's not a lot of clouds to judge balls off of, and so you contend with that. You contend with the sun is in your eye most of these games, and it becomes a big challenge to catch foul balls sometimes.
Yesterday, 2 batters lost fly balls in the sun. Line drive to Reed and left, and Jeremy Gloves at route number 3. So the Cubs had 2 hits, but they strand 2 base runners in the top of the first inning. We go to the bottom. Ichiro will lead it off for the Mariners. You're watching Cactus League action on MLB.tv. The Cubs failed to score in the top of the first. They'll face the Seattle Mariners, and this is the lineup they'll face. Ichiro's in the box. Willie Bloomquist at third, Greg Norton at DH, Brad Wilkerson at right, Jeff Clement behind the plate, Brian LaHare at first, Jose Lopez at second, Jeremy Reed in left, and Mark Kiger, the shortstop, as Ichiro takes a fastball strike. According to Sean Rakos, calling the balls and strikes. And a chopper to second. Charging Figueroa, and Luis will make the play easily for out number 1, 4-3.
Well, Lieber's going to be a guy that's going to throw a lot of strikes. He'll be around the plate. He's going to work quick. Now, sometimes in spring training that can be deceptive because pitchers are on a pitch count. He may be on a pitch count of 40, 45 pitches this game, but if you're getting 2 strikeouts like that, you may end up throwing a little bit longer than you think.
Willie Bloomquist, the batter, and he had a fastball swing and a slider, and he missed it for strike 1. John had his best year, this is from last year obviously, his best year with the Cubs back in 2001. He went 20-6 with a 3.80 earned run average. The 0-2 chase pitch.
If you're Willie Bloomquist, first pitch is a slider. You said he had a fastball swing at a slider because he's thinking it's going to be a fastball right there. Snaps the slider off. Next one's a slider, and he finds himself in a hole. And then he busts him in on a 1-2 fastball.
Those pitchers, they just can't be trusted. John will turn 38 years of age. He and I have the same birthday. Took something off of that one, and Willie will take the bat back to the dugout. Crowd number 2.
Well, that's a good looking breaking pitch. And the other thing about it is it's spring training, and we're going to talk about that a lot. But early in the spring, you're still trying to gauge breaking pitches. You spend most of your time in batting practice in the cage hitting fastballs, and occasionally you get some breaking pitches. But game is a little bit different. And he did a nice job of throwing some good breaking pitches to Bloomquist.
Greg Norton, the batter. He's the designated hitter. Takes a fastball knee-high strike. Not that spring training stats mean that much at this point of the spring, but he is 1 for 6 for keeper score. A high fly ball to center. Cedeno breaking back. Ronnie seems to have it gauged, and he does. And John Lieber goes through the Mariners in order. 1-2-3 in the bottom of the first. After 1 complete, we're scoreless from Peoria. You're watching Cactus League action on MLB.tv. And Jake Fox is ready. He's the designated hitter. He takes the fastball knee high outside part of the plate for a strike. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with him. Glad you can join us on MLB.tv. Washburn delivers a change, and the count evens at 1-1. Jared, 93 and 86 lifetime with a 4.07 earned run average. Gets in on his hands. Lopez cuts it off, and Jose makes the play. 4-3 for out number 1.
That's one of those right there. You're not necessarily screaming at the pitcher. You're just going down there going, ouch. because he got deep in his kitchen. That hurts on a day like this. Got deep in there. And that, that comes, yes, he got a good count to hit in. He just didn't pick the ball up, and that's what happens when you have early in the spring.
And you have a pitcher that can, especially those sneaky left-handers, that can cut a fastball in on your hands, as Luis Figueroa takes inside for ball 1. Luis having a pretty good start to his spring. His 3 hits in 5 at-bats, coming off a 301 season in AAA. He bloops one to right, fall in safely for a base hit.
Well, the other thing I'm watching as the ball's flying out to left field, to right field right there, is how good does he run? Did he get out of the box? Did a nice little approach, making a good turn? Here's a guy that has a potential chance to battle coming off the bench, where you're going to be able to use his speed. He's going to catch the ball for you, and that's what Lou Pinella's looking at.
Modest lead at first as Alex Centrone takes inside for ball 1. Alex, with a lot of big league time, came up with the D-backs, the Diamondbacks, most recently with the White Sox. A switch batter. Possible hit and run, a run and hit situation. Count evens at 1.
Yeah, I was talking with Lou Piniella the other day. I said, Lou, you're somewhat of a throwback type of manager in that you like to run. You like to get those guys moving. And took him back to his World Series team in Cincinnati and talked about that. He said he loves the brand of baseball like that. He learned that from Billy Martin, and he just feels like that's the way. You got to get guys moving.
Chop at a third, and the only play that Bloomquist can make, and really makes it in fine fashion for the 5-4 force. Well, we'd like to welcome in our BaseballChannel.tv audience, along with Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you. We're in the top of the 2nd inning, and we're scoreless, Cubs and Mariners. 2 away for Coy Hill. First pitch swinging, he lines it to left. Jeremy Reed is there, and Jeremy makes his second play of the afternoon as the Cubs strand a base runner at first. As we go to the bottom of the 2nd, we remain scoreless. It's time now to bring in our colleague, Ed Randall. Ed, take it away.
Thanks so much, guys. You've seen Jared pitch 2 innings, and when this guy was a young man, he would spread his baseball cards around the floor in front of the television set, and he would chart pitches. He grew up in a very small town called Webster, Wisconsin, population 623, where the nearest mall was 65 miles away. And he begins this season with 93 career wins, so it looks like if he has a good season, and he's being asked to really be an important anchor in manager John McLaren's staff, because he is the lone left-hander, he has an opportunity this year to win his 100th game. So Jared Washburn with 2 credible innings so far. Let's go back upstairs.
Thank you, Eddie. And at the back end of that rotation, he is the left-hander, though they traded for the big dog at the top end of that rotation, and that's Eric Bedard. But actually, what's a little surprising is that the pitcher who had the most wins for the Mariners last year is pitching as our number 5.
Yeah,
Miguel Batista.
Yeah,
he won 16 games last year.
And that just shows the depth of this starting rotation. That's why the Mariners are going to be contending at the end of the year. Come September, they're going to be right in the thick of things, because if you got 5 starters like they do that can pitch deep in the ball game, particularly in the American League, as the season goes on, they can get you to the 6th or 7th.
Are they offensive enough?
They may not have the offense, but they can manufacture, and that's what I'm watching with this club now. Do they have speed? Because you can only manufacture if you have speed enough to do that. The power guys are not manufacture type batters, and that's the big question, Billy. I mean, they got to figure that out. This is a guy that they think's going to help them in that department, and that's Brad Wilkerson.
He had 20 homers last year playing in Arlington, Texas, which is a pretty good home run hitter's park. He goes to a park that's not so advantageous to the hitters as he takes a strike from John Lieber.
Well, I met Brad years ago when he played for University of Florida. He was a pitcher. He used to come into games and shut games down and go out in the outfield. You know, that left-hander, he was nasty in college. You can only imagine. And then he grab a hold of an aluminum bat. He put on a show at the College World Series when I got a chance to meet and watch him play then.
Tingy to death. And that's just wide of first. And Lieber ahead of the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brad so far this spring 1 for 2. a career 250 batter. And though he probably takes the bat back to the dugout, he's always done that more times via the strikeout. He does have some pop, and he's had some big days.
Yeah, I'm
hit
really
for the cycle twice.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that he strikes out as much as he does, because he's really has an approach. He's got a nice swing that you'd think he would make a lot of contact with. I think the reason he gets himself in trouble and strikes out as much as he does, he's too patient. Get a good pitch, let it fly.
And he gets the base hit there up the middle on the 2-2 pitch. So the Mariners have their first base runner leading off the second.
See, he's listening to me.
But sometimes they'll tell you they will sacrifice strikeouts to help your on-base percentage with the walks, and he walks quite a bit. He didn't walk that much last year, but for the most part in his career, he's walked quite a bit.
Well, and my comeback to that is why are they walking him? Because he's going to clog the bases. You know, you got to be able to run if people are going to walk you a little bit too to make it effective.
Jeff Clement takes fastball strike about knee high.
You know, Billy, there's a theme that's building here. There's so many guys that I've watched play college baseball, and that seems to be the trend of Major League Baseball. Now I'm seeing more guys that went from these major colleges, and now they end up playing in the big leagues. Jeff Clement was at USC, and is the #1 draft pick out of there. But you know, a lot of college baseball's having a big influence on the game. What do you think about that?
It's funny you should say that, because I was thinking today, I was with the Yankees in 1985, and I was trying to remember how many of those players went to school, went to college, were signed out of college, and only a handful were. And alluding to your point now, it seems as though, I would say maybe 2/3. There's a drive deep to right. Fukudome back on the track, and he runs it down. And to throw back to first. He's got a gun. He might get him. Oh, my goodness. What a play.
Wow, I'm not sure he didn't get him right there. That is a heck of a throw, though. Well, we got a chance to see a little bit of the package right there, what he brings to the Cubbies, and that's an exciting play. All the way around. Now, you watch, one, being able to gauge this ball. I thought the ball might have a chance to get out of here, and obviously Clement did, too. You see him stand there thinking he's Reggie Jackson. Just because you're wearing 9 don't mean it's going. Now, and then the next thing, he makes the great catch against the wall and turns around and had the presence of mind to know the runner wasn't going to make it back. Man, a great play.
So we've seen his arm. He threw that all the way in the air to first base to try to double up Wilkerson. Brian LaHare, the batter, he's the first baseman.
For all you youngsters out there, Reggie used to wear 9 when he was at Oakland. That's why I threw that out there.
The 1-0. Reggie was one of the few that I think had enough power that he could hit and watch his home runs and not get knocked down 3 and 4 times. Sort of brought on a new generation of players hitting home runs and watching them. Lieber sets for the 2-0. There's a drive to right. Fukudome moving to his right, back to the track. This time he'll have to play it high off the wall. He gets it in quickly, and because of that, Wilkerson will stop at third.
Well, one thing that you're going to find out about most guys that come over from Japan, the question mark is always, will they hit? But you can clearly always see that the defensive fundamental plays are there. He made a nice fundamental defensive play. This is a nice swing by Leclerc. But again, I look back at the play by the right fielder, get this ball back in, saved him a run.
Surprised that the ball carried that well to right center for Fukudome, and the one that he hit down the right field line, maybe because it got up more wind, didn't carry quite as much, but he made a fine play as Jose Lopez awaits the first pitch. Jose on the spring, it's 1 for 2. He takes an off-speed strike.
Now here's one of those situations that you look at as a manager. I'm sure McLaren's sitting there going, we need to pick up a run. This is the little things we have to do in the season if you want to be successful. And he's hoping Lopez can hit a ball up the middle or to the right side and pick up a run or get a ball in the air where they can score somebody. But you have to make contact and put the ball in play in this situation.
But now he's behind a count 0-2.
What manager used to harp on that with you when you were playing?
I had 8 of them.
I hear you.
I'm sure more than one harped on it. I'm thinking of you and Dick Williams or something like that.
Well, yeah, Dick used to do that. I mean, but this is a situation you want Lopez to be working on, and there it is. He got to run.
Reach for a pretty good pitch. 4-3 on the putout. On the play, Wilkerson scores. And on the board are the Seattle Mariners in the bottom of the second. 1-0.
I remember Big Frank Howard used to always saying, you're going to get some RBIs this year, and here's how you're going to do it. You're always trading out for a ribby any day.
Absolutely.
And that's it. You swing at a pitch like that, you hit a little dribbler, you just picked up an RBI, you got your team on the board, and it's a big bonus. But that's playing fundamental baseball right there.
Ground ball off the foot of Lieber, and the play won't be made by Hill. The second run scores LaHare, and 2-0 Mariners. I'm not sure that ball was going to go up the middle if Lieber's foot had not gotten in the way. Now Larry Rothschild, his pitching coach, along with the trainer, coming out to the mound to see.
Well, the Cubs are, they listen to my pregame stuff. The other thing, stay healthy. And that goes with the pitching staff, too. They have to get out of here and try to stay healthy. You can't afford to lose Lieber right now. And obviously, spring training, if anything was close to remotely being sore or didn't feel right, he'd be out of this game right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, John is vying for a spot. The Cubs have 7 pitchers for 5 spots. And before Mark Kiger steps in, for you MLB.TV subscribers, you can subscribe now and watch every regular season game as Kiger takes a little bit low and outside, including up to 6 games at once, plus more than 150 spring training games, including some of our in-house productions, as well as this afternoon's broadcast is. Sign up now on MLB.TV. Throw to first. Reed. Jeremy was the center fielder of the future just 2 years ago.
Yep.
He got hurt somewhere along the way, and now trying to battle back to get some playing time.
Yeah, it's very difficult when you get injuries, but this is one of the skills that he has. He can steal bases.
Not there. Nope. 2-6. Terrio on the tag, caught stealing Reed, and the Mariners out of their half of the second inning. Not before they score 2. The second run on an infield hit, and after 2 complete, it is 2-0 Mariners. And we go to the top of the 3rd inning here at the Peoria Sports Complex. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you. Ed Randall down on the sidelines. Cubs trailing, batting in the top of the 3rd, 2-0. Ronnie Cedeno tried to push a bunt past Jarrett Washburn for strike 1. And this time he lines one off the glove of LaHare, picked up by Lopez, but his throw is high, and it wouldn't have been in time anyway, as Cedeno can fly.
Well, Ronnie Cedeno, it could be a pleasant surprise for the Cubs. I didn't know he could play the outfield. Now, I've always known he could play some shortstop and pretty good shortstop at that, and some second base. Actually, he was their starting shortstop last year until Terrio took over. But if he can do this, you see the speed as he goes down the line, but if he can play defense in center, and they can use him around the diamond in different places, he could be a nice pickup, a pleasant surprise for Lou Piniella.
Played in 36 games last year. I'll make that 38 games last year, as Ryan Terrio takes a fastball strike and batted .203 with 4 homers and 13 runs batted in. With those 4 homers and only 74 at bats, and you figure a couple more plate appearances, so he's got some pop. And we can see with the way that Terrio can handle a bat, if they have something up in this situation, as that pitch is low and inside, as the count evens at 1.
Well, these are the things in spring training you look for, these situations. If you know, and it's not necessarily the end result you're looking for, but you want to make sure if you put a hit and run on, that both the players get the sign to execute, and there you go. He's able to handle the bat and foul it off. Those are the little things in spring training that you work on. Nice job handling that pitch up there in his eyes.
But everybody executed well. The Mariners thinking that something might be on, threw a pitch, Washburn did. It would be difficult for Terrio to get on top of it.
Yep.
And yet he makes contact to save Cedeno from possibly being thrown out.
And the key factor is they got the sign. You know, you can trust Cedeno and Terrio that they got the sign and were able to try to execute.
That time Ryan got a sign he didn't like. It was a strike 3 sign, and he'll take the bat back to the dugout. That is Washburn's first strikeout. 1 away for Kosuke Fukudome.
See, but Billy, I would go back. I mean, Lou Pinella's sitting there going, that was a successful at bat. He executed a hit and run on a ball that was out of his strike zone, way over his head, and he did what I needed to see with him do.
Breaking ball, and we talked about how Fukudome has a little bit of that Ichiro where he bails a little bit towards first, running while he's hitting, and sometimes that off-speed breaking ball can be tough if you have that kind of hitting style from a left-hander. The 0-1 and the curveball is chop foul. Fukudome behind the count, 2 strikes.
You got to have tremendous hand-eye coordination and timing to be able to drift like he's drifting and still be able to hit that baseball.
Thank you. That's the word. Drift.
Yeah, and you know what I mean by that is, I mean, you understand the terminology because we're speaking baseball language, but what I mean by that is you start to take your body and kind of guide and glide towards the pitcher without letting the ball come to you. You're going to it, and you start drifting towards the pitcher and swing the bat. And you don't have anything to hold you back except for your hands, and you hope maybe my hands can stay back, I can put the ball in play. Oh my goodness.
How many years has it been? I was trying to speculate the other day that the railing has been in front of the dugout to protect people, essentially, although now all the players seem to be hanging on the railings.
They look like a bunch of birds over there on top of the deck, just hoping. Man, they're fortunate that that ball didn't hit you, because that's a very quick reaction when there's a foul ball hit your way.
Another 0-2 fastball just missed outside. 1-2 the count.
Now here's another thing you might look for in Cedeno right here. 1-2. Now you're getting back to a situation where I want to see if he can steal a base. So you're going to let him have a green light and an opportunity to run.
Did you like the managers that would, I think I know the answer since you led the league in steals one year, to just leave you on your own?
Oh, absolutely, because there's some things that you pick up in the rhythm of a pitcher that you're able to anticipate, and if you don't have if you have a sign, all of a sudden you're forced to run on that sign when you're getting a good feel for it on your own. You can see Jared Washburn's thinking the same thing. He's thinking Cedeno might run. He just went with a slide step, he threw over to first. Now, if he's running, this is a great count to run on right here. Probably going to breaking ball to run on.
And he's going to pick him off. 3-6 on the pickoff. 1-6-3. Try number 2. 1-3-6.
Everybody's on the same page today. Ronnie thought he'd get a good break, and Washburn knew he was going. That play was made by the first baseman, though, cutting that ball off and cutting down the distance between him and the pitcher, I mean the second base, and making the play.
And Fukudome hit by the pitch. I'm not sure Kosuke thought he was, but he'll take it.
Well, he might have been looking for him to tip his cap to him, but that doesn't happen over here. You know, sometimes you get hit in Japan, they tip your cap for you and say you're sorry. He didn't get hit.
Yeah, he didn't get it. That's why he looked back.
Ball missed him by a bunch.
Whole ball, yeah.
That tells you he must feel pretty comfortable at the plate, because if he didn't, he'd be like, "They hit me, I'm out of here."
Matt Burton, the batter, and he takes low and inside.
There'd be sometimes you're down 2 strikes in the count, and you're hoping somebody throws something like that. Just act like it hit me. I'm going down to first.
Especially if you're overmatched. The 1-0 and a changeup strike outside part of the plate, and the count evens at 1. Burton had a soft single to left center his first time. Matt out of Georgia Tech. We were talking earlier about the college athlete. Not only do you have to play because they have a good program, but you have to have some smarts to get into it. Another ball fisted to left. This time it travels to Jeremy Reed, who makes his third putout of the afternoon, and the Cubs are out of their half of the third. They had an infield hit which was erased on the 1-3-6 pickoff and caught stealing. As we go to the bottom of the third, it remains 2-0 Mariners. And we go to the bottom of the third here in Peoria, and the home-standing Mariners lead the Cubs 2-0. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you. Ed Randall on the sidelines as well, as we continue to bring you our in-house production on MLB.TV. Tomorrow we'll be here as well, and the other team that is housed here in Peoria, the Padres. They will host the Giants.
If you haven't been out here, this is incredible, this complex and all the facilities around here, the restaurants. And you know, when I first came out here about, I don't know, 10 years ago,
Sean Marshall, the pitcher,
you drive out to the area and it was only the ballparks. Now you've got every type of restaurant and movie theater, and you know, it's amazing how they built this area up.
Marshall, 6'7", delivers a strike, and he's headed to count 2 strikes to Mark Kiger, the shortstop and the 9th place batter. Marshall out of Richmond, and as you take a wider look at the complex, it really has built up, as Harold says, in a short amount of time. A strikeout and a wild pitch and a base runner.
Well, that was a nasty curveball. It snapped off. I guess it was so nasty the hitter and the catcher both missed it. But you know, Marshall being 6'7", he really has to try to get on top of that pitch, and he did a nice job of getting on top of it. He threw that ball broke a lot.
And Hill tried to backhand it instead of, it broke so much he didn't have, I guess he thought he could catch it on his backhand instead of trying to catch it on his forehand and slide his body in front of it so it'll hit off his chest on the bounce. That'll take us to the top of the order, and Ichiro. He takes low and inside.
I think this situation right here is where Ichiro's the most dangerous, because you got a runner on first base, you got to play double play depth against him, which allows him to find more holes to shoot those little ground balls through. The third baseman has to play up. He might bunt on him. It just presents a tough proposition to get him out.
Fastball strike, and the count evens at 1-1. And if Terrio has to make a play on his backhand towards the hole, he'd better hope for the force play, because there's no way you can throw out Ichiro.
Absolutely right.
Ichiro has had all 7 years in which he has played in the States, he has had over 200 hits. Not one there as he pops one off third, foul ground. Centron over Alex. Watch it go up about 8 rows. Mariners scored 2 in their half of the second inning, and that's the scoring in the contest.
Billy, what has impressed you about Ichiro through the years watching him?
I'd pay to watch him play every day.
Yeah.
And I'd pay to listen to him come into the clubhouse and ask his teammates, "What's up, dog?
What up, blood?"
1-2 inside the count evens at 2-2.
He loves rap music, and he cracks me up with his slang. One time I see, "What's up, blood? What's up, blood?" This high, squeaky pitch voice. It's funny.
The 2-2 breaking ball, and the count runs full. So we'll see if Kiger, who was on with the wild pitch after striking out, if Mark will run on the 3-2. Nobody out. The only other player to have 7 years of 200 hits or more is in the Hall of Fame, as you might imagine. Wade Boggs throw the first. In fact, there are only 3 players that have had 5 consecutive years of 200 hits or more, and one we will see on Wednesday at Surprise. Brewers and Rangers. Runner does take off, and Ichiro fights a fastball off.
I was going to say, that is a surprise. Trying to figure it out. Well, go ahead. Who are the guys you're talking about?
Well, Boggs is one. Ichiro's the other. And I think the other one's going to surprise you a little bit. Again,
I'd say Michael Young, if that's
you can't throw a fastball by you, can't.
Is that it?
That's it.
I'm surprised. I just guessed, but when you gave me a good clue with the Rangers training in Surprise, Arizona.
Runner takes off again, and Ichiro takes low for ball 4. So the Mariners, a strikeout and a walk, yet they have 2 base runners leading off the third for Willie Bloomquist.
Here's where the spring training is deceiving, and you turn on the box scores, and you look at box scores, and you turn games on. Here's a guy throws a nasty breaking pitch to get a strikeout.
Right.
And then he's got Ichiro up with a runner on first, and he battles Ichiro, who fouls off a couple nasty pitches and ends up walking him. And now you're first and second with no outs, and everybody says, "This guy is terrible. He's having a rough outing." And he's actually shown he's got pretty good stuff.
And we'll see what Willie Bloomquist will do in this situation. Early in the game, we'll see if he shows bunt. He's not. He takes inside ball 1.
Well, the Mariners, you touched on it earlier, are a team that is looking for offense. And, in spring training, maybe this is one of those situations they're going to say, Willie Bloomquist is their guy that comes off the bench. We want him to swing the bat. They're confident enough that he can bunt the baseball. It's not necessarily about winning games so much as it is executing situations in spring training.
Yeah, you want to give somebody the confidence in the second week of the spring that you're going to let them loose in a situation like this. As Willie's ahead of the count 2-0, takes a look at Sam Palazzo coaching at third. Sam says, "Get one you like." Marshall out of Richmond and VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. And that is fisted to right. Playable for Fukudome. Don't even think about running. Just come on back.
I like watching this guy.
I do too.
That's exciting. I like watching guys air it out. Let's see what you got out there.
Well, if you have it, you can show it off.
Yes, you can.
Some of us didn't have it. Thus, we didn't show it off.
There you go. Now, this is obviously a play you're not going to throw him out on going to third, but he did a nice job just charge it and let it go.
Just to set the scene in your mind to let you know that if you were even thinking about it, venturing a possibility about going with a speedier runner, don't even think about it. Because I didn't play that in Japan, and I'm not going to play it over here either. Greg Norton, the batter. Switch hitter takes low and inside. Catches the strike zone. About knee-high inside.
Got that spring strike.
No, I'm not going to blame it on him if I called it incorrectly. Sean, you are with me. Sean Rayco's calling the balls and strikes. Rob Drake, Angel Campos, and Delvin Colon. The other umpires, 5, 4, 3, and Marshall, after what could have been a tough inning, as Apparel was alluding to, gets out of the inning unscathed as we complete a 3, and the Mariners do not add to their 2-0 lead. Cactus League action on MLB.tv. And we go to the top of the fourth here in Peoria. And the Seattle Mariners, the homestanding Mariners, lead the Chicago Cubs 2-0. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with him, and the guy in the middle. Well, when I see him, he often has a Cincinnati Reds uniform on. So I don't know. He may be on the other side today doing something. Nick Lachey. Nick, welcome.
This is my American League allegiance here.
Yeah.
You get one per league, right?
Yeah, that's it?
All right,
Okay.
there you go.
All right. You know, Billy, you always get on me about, oh, Harold, you got a pretty good life. You get to do it. This guy has the life. What did we do in Arizona the other day? You came to watch a little NASCAR. Now you got to
That's right.
watch baseball. And
That's right. We're on the sports tour here.
it seems like you always are. Well, Nick does have allegiance with the Mariners, though. You got your Tacoma Rainiers jersey
That's
on.
right. That's right.
You're part owner of the AAA affiliate, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we was part of a group that bought the team last year, and this is our second year being a part of the Mariners organization. So yeah, we're having a great time. I thought I'd come down here and check out the facilities and take a look at some of the guys that probably will end up playing in Tacoma this year.
Now, how often are you in Tacoma to watch your club?
Not often enough. I try to get out there as much as I can, but obviously I'm touring and doing other stuff, so it's hard to always get up there when I want to. But no, I try to get up there as much as I can and support the team. And really, I mean, obviously I don't claim to be any genius on baseball, but, just try to offer my support and get some good hype going up there in Tacoma for the team.
A couple things here. One, did you always want to have some kind of ownership? I know you and your brother were always big sports fans, but
yeah.
And how did you get into possibly owning a team? A lot of people ask me that. How do you get into owning a minor league club?
Well, it was interesting. A few years ago, the Reds were up for sale, and obviously I grew up in Cincinnati and a huge Reds fan, so I was part of a group that tried to buy the Reds.
Billy, we're in the wrong business, bro.
Well, I tried to buy very small. I would have owned a couple blades of grass in the stadium. That's about it. But no, we obviously didn't get the team, but it really kind of sparked my interest in the side of the business and being a part of owning the team. And
see that slice down the right field line. That's off the bat of Jake Fox.
Send him home.
Hoffpauir rounds third. The throw to the plate will be offline, and the Cubs on the board. It's now 2-1 Mariners.
boy.
That was nice. Fox took an outside fastball and just stayed with it. And that was a good relay, too. I mean, they executed all the way around. We've been talking the whole day, Nick, about spring training. It's really just more about execution than anything else. And a lot of guys obviously battling for jobs, and Fox is one of those guys. But, Billy, they did a nice job on this relay right here.
Joe Warman now on the hill for the Mariners. And I think they gave Fox a triple all the way on that. And a ground ball to second. That'll score the run as the Mariners have the defense back conceding the run, and we're tied at 2.
Well, Nick Lachey joining us up here in the booth. Owner of one of the owners, I should say, of the Tacoma Rainiers, the AAA team for Seattle Mariners. And we were just talking about how he got into the ownership group. But how'd that work out with the AAA club with Seattle?
Yeah, well, so when the situation with the Reds didn't work out, I was in business with another couple guys, and the opportunity to buy the Rainiers came up, and we jumped all over it. A chance to get our feet wet and get some experience, and maybe one day an opportunity to do something at the big league level will happen again. But it's been a great experience. Obviously learned a lot and been a lot of fun.
Well, since these guys are hacking, and we don't know how long you're going to be around because they keep swinging the bat. What are you doing now? Tell us what's happening with Nick Lachey.
Yeah, I'm just actually finished up my album last week, so getting ready to put that out and get back on tour and get out there on the road and start singing again. So just doing that, producing a couple TV things, trying to stay busy, stay out there, and keep my face out there.
He's got a build about him.
Oh,
he must have played something.
Yeah, you played some sports growing up, right?
It's funny. I went to a performing arts school. We didn't have sports at all. So I grew up a huge sports fan. Always loved it, but didn't really play anything.
Yeah, but we catch you in all these celebrity games. You're a pretty good athlete, so you must have played some pickup games and stuff like that, right?
Every now and then, yeah. Every now and then, I've been able to take BP a few times to get out there and get work out the cobwebs. But no, I'm no great athlete, but I do love sports.
Now, we know you can take it in Tacoma, but can you take it because of your status, can you go and take it BP at major league levels?
Yeah, well, I've been lucky to I took it at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, and actually at Dodger Stadium once as well. So, I've been heckled. I had Griffey standing behind me, give me talking trash the whole way through.
So who's your team you follow? You're a Reds fan? I know I'm putting you on the spot on a Mariner, uniformity, I should say. But are you a Reds fan?
He was one or the other. Both
No, lifelong Reds fan, absolutely. And it's funny because when Lou Piniella left Cincinnati and went to Seattle, I kind of followed him, and then you had Dan Wilson and Norm Charlton and a lot of the guys that I grew up watching in Cincinnati, went over to Seattle. So I've kind of been a closet Mariners fan for years, even before the Tacoma deal.
What position you play?
What position do I play?
Yeah.
The outfield, where I can make as little mistake as possible.
Well, of all the sports, you play a lot of basketball and you play some softball and a little baseball here and there. What's your favorite?
You know what? Cincinnati's really a baseball town, so I grew up loving baseball. And it's such a part of that community. And baseball and football probably have to be the two that I like the best.
2-1 fisted off to our right. 2-2 the count.
No. Now, what do you like better, the regular season or coming down to spring training? Nice afternoon game.
Yeah, this is a great atmosphere down here. I've never been to spring training before, but everyone's just relaxed, having a good time,
Yeah, it is. It's the complex is incredible. You got fields everywhere, watching guys work out. Now, will you get a chance to see some of the AAA players? Did you watch them play today at all? Their workouts?
Yeah, you know what? I got here too late to watch the workouts, but obviously getting a chance to see some of them here in the game, and that's the interesting thing when you're at a AAA level. You really never know who's going to come in and come out, and
right.
And obviously we love to support the Mariners and see.
As soon as that curveball broke, Ronnie Cedeno was in trouble as he takes the bat back to the dugout, and the Cubs are out of their half of the fourth inning, not before they score 2 on 1 hit. And as we go to the bottom of the fourth, we are tied at 2. Nick, one more before we thank you and let you go. Have you met somebody that you were looking at as a kid growing up that really excited you now that you got an opportunity to meet?
I got to meet Cal Ripken, who, just one of the legends, obviously, of the game, and somebody I always admired growing up, and so that was pretty cool. Pretty cool to meet him.
Did he
and this guy right here.
Yeah. Bro. That's my hero right here.
Harold, thank you. Nick, thank you.
Thanks.
See, he's trying to kick me. He wants to do the game with kicking me out. No,
Nick Lachey, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming over.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Ed, I don't know if you can top that. You can't top Harold Reynolds and Nick Lachey, can you?
No, but I was a pretty good singer in the Glee Club back in the Bronx. But no big hits like Nick. Sean Marshall, you see over my shoulder pitching, and a twin. Has a brother, Brian, who pitched in the Boston Red Sox organization. Twins are usually one's right-handed, one's left-handed, and Sean had said he thought Brian was right-handed, but his father forced them to be left-handed pitchers. And Sean, when he was growing up, was nearly in the Little League World Series, nearly in the American League, in the American Legion World Series, and had the great good fortune to locker near Greg Maddux when Maddux was with the Cubs in 2006. And Maddux would talk to him about how to warm up. They talk all the time about hitting. So every time you see Sean Marshall on the mound, know that he's thinking about Greg Maddux. Let's go back upstairs.
Thank you very much, Eddie. I knew he had a twin, but I didn't know all that extra information, so appreciate it. Even when we're around baseball, you can still get educated on a daily basis as we go to the bottom of the fourth inning, and the crowd on the berm watching baseball. And it's starting to warm up just a little bit. I think the game time temperature was 64. It may be a little warmer, but it doesn't seem to bother the people that come out here at the Peoria Sports Complex.
Well, when you're coming out of the area that in New York, like most of us, and you got hit by a snowstorm before you flew out, you're enjoying this 64. Although it's a cold 64, if that makes any sense, but it's starting to warm up.
Brad Wilkerson has been with a number of teams, but he says why Seattle's the right fit for him.
I think the biggest thing is an opportunity for me to perform every day, and also to a team that's going to be contending for a playoff spot. And when you're a player, you want to be playing for a winner, and that's what I was looking forward to.
Brad takes low and inside from Sean Marshall.
Well, I think you get to a point in your career, no matter who the player is, that eventually you want to be on a winning team. And when you're playing on a winning club, it's just a lot more fun to come to the ballpark, and you get excited to play, and it's really the reason that you're playing the game in the first place. When you start off, it's I want to get established, I'm glad I'm in the big leagues, and it's really more of a selfish motive. And then after a while, it becomes, all right, I've done all that stuff, now it's time to go win.
And Brad has played with the Expos. That's where he came up. The Rangers, the Nationals before the Rangers.
3 losing teams.
And,
it's tough.
And he's got to like the way that pitching staff is shaping up in Seattle. And one of the things that the Mariners wanted this year more than last year was a better on-base percentage average, and certainly Wilkerson brings that because Brad walks a lot. He strikes out a lot, but he walks a lot as well, and that gives you a high on-base percentage for the big boppers behind you. 1 on, nobody out.
So look at Jay Buhner and the bald guy, and the guy with the hat was manager John McLaren.
Bone.
You know, people talk about on-base percentage so much now in the last 5, 6, 8 years, you know, and to me it's a misnomer. I mean, if you don't hit, you don't get on base. I'm sorry, you got to still hit the ball. All that taking pitches and all that.
Yeah.
If you don't hit,
I'm with you.
They're going to pitch to you. If you hit, they're going to pitch around you. It's
That's
just
right.
it's pretty simple.
That's right. The only time they pitched around was when I was hitting. As infrequent as that might have been, but it was hard for me to work on-base percentage that way. I had to bat my hands for a reason.
Well, and you know you do, and that's.
Ooh, that was a pretty good curveball to Jeff Clement. Took it low and inside. 1-2 to count to the Mariners catcher.
I remember getting in an argument with somebody about Ichiro, and they said, well, you know, he had 262 hits, but his on-base percentage wasn't high. I'm like, come on, you kidding me? You guys scored 150 runs, you know? And it's just amazing. There's different things. And then they said, well, look at Jason Giambi. I said, Giambi scored 30 runs. You know, come on now.
I'm with you. I think I understand what they're talking about, and I know they do a lot of that in the fantasy leagues. But I still I'm a wood man myself. Fastball just missed outside. 2-2 to count. I was saying the other day to Eddie that Charlie Manuel, the manager of the Phillies, is a wood man. He likes guys that can swing that wood.
Yeah.
I said I'm a wood man too. Earlier I mentioned Bone. Bone is the
nickname of Jay Buhner.
Payoff pitch. We'll see how the Mariners play it.
Well, it's an interesting part of the Mariner lineup. You know, Brad Wilkerson, he's going to give them some on-base percentages, some strikeouts, but if he's not running in the situation right here, you're not picking up much. Obviously, he was running right there 3-2. You have to have guys that are going to be able to move, or you're going to end up with a lot of double plays. And that's how the Cubs were able to get out of last inning, because the Mariners didn't move. They were stagnant. They're base to base, and you're going to hit into a lot of double plays when you play base to base baseball.
Brian LaHare, the batter, he doubled and scored his first time. We're tied at 2. Mariners batting in the bottom of the 4th.
Now, I was really hoping I'd get a chance to see Richie Sexson play today, but LaHare has been pretty impressive swinging the bat here.
Richie had the start in yesterday's game, and you were talking about things you might try to do in spring training as Brian fouls one down the left field line. And Sexton did something yesterday that I thought, well, he probably won't do during the regular season. Scott Harrison was on second, nobody out, and somebody hit a sharp line drive at him that he caught on the bounce. And he had the ball in plenty of time, he felt, to throw Harrison out, who was trying to advance on the ball, hit to the right side. And he threw it wide, and Harrison had a great jump, and I think would have beat it even if the throw hadn't been on the bag. But that's one of the things he would try in spring training. People say, what was he doing? But he wanted to try to see just how good he would be at a situation like that. Marshall sets for the 0-2. That curveball it's amazing he got a piece of that one. Count remains 2 strikes.
Yeah, it looks like Marshall throws 2 types of curveballs. He's got a real hard snap curveball, and then he's got another one that he kind of spins up there just as a get-over type of curveball.
And usually that get-over one was early in the count.
Yes.
When you're sitting fastball and they just flip you a curveball, and if they can get it over, it's a strike. The 6'7" left-hander sets. And that was a little harder.
This is make him chase one. I still think he probably wanted to get that one down where it's going to bounce and maybe get the hitter to chase.
Marshall had a pretty good year last year, 7-8, but his ERA was under 4, 3.92 with the Cubs. 1-2. Oh, that was a nasty slider swing there.
Well, it looked like a nasty slide. That was the hard one, but it almost looked like he changed the arc on it to a slider. I've been impressed with Marshall. You know, here's the second looking breaking ball. That looks like a slider. I mean, that ball, see how far that moved? That is nasty, especially lefty on lefty.
And especially a 6'7" lefty on
yes.
lefty. One away for Jose Lopez.
Now, last time Lopez did the job, he got a little ground ball.
Runner takes off from second. He had that base stolen.
Yes. In that situation, if you're wondering, when you got the lead runner running and the trail runner doesn't run, that means Brad Wilkerson ran on his own. He was on his green light and ran on his own because both runners would run if they were given the sign. And if you're the hitter, in a perfect world, you see that jump and you take the pitch. And really, that was a pitch Lopez could have taken.
Yeah, your first pitch, especially.
Yeah, and it was a slow enough curveball. He could have picked him up. He should have let him go. Now you got a first and third situation. But that won't happen again because they're not going to let Wilkerson run because now he's alerted everybody at the ballpark that he might steal third.
Spoken like a middle infielder. 0-2 to count.
A little education for you watching the games out there. In spring training, you'll see a lot of pickoffs at second base because those are the things you work on in the morning practices, the rhythm, the timing, the pickoff moves, things like that. And in the beginning of the year is when you see it, and the first half, the second half, the first week of the second half because you work on it during the All-Star break. Other than that, they don't do it. So I used to keep that in mind all the time. Like, okay, this first week of spring, during spring training, they'll be trying to pick me off at second. The first week of the season, they'll try it. And then after that, they'll get lazy. Now you're still third in May, June, and July.
You're right. We don't get that kind of insight every day.
So you fantasy fans, that's when the stolen bases go up. Pick a guy up in May. It's still third for you.
Another 0-2. Breaking ball stayed outside. 1-2 the count. Jose Lopez, an all-star in his first full season with the Mariners a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he really came on the scene. He did a lot of things. They got a nice double play combination up the middle when Bettencourt's out there.
Oh, my goodness. Chop to third. Could be 2. The 5 unassisted part by Centrone to 3. And indeed, he gets a double play. And the Mariners out of their half of the 4th inning. They strand a base runner. And after 4 complete, we remain tied at 2. You're watching Cactus League action on MLB.tv. The city of Peoria has housed the Mariners and the Padres for the last 15 seasons. And it's usually a beautiful day in Peoria, as it is today. A little cool, but still beautiful. And you can tell by the way the people are dressed. They're enjoying Cactus League baseball. We are as well bringing it to you, along with Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you. Ed Randall's on the sideline as the Cubs bat in the top of the 5th of this game, tied at 2. It'll be Terrio, Fukudome, and Merton, 2, 3, and 4, and Lou Pinellas will face Joe Warman. And that first pitch is ripped past Bloomquist to third.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to Terrio. I'll get back to him a little bit later, and he was saying, I love the third at bat because you set the guy up.
Alfonso Soriano is from the Dominican Republic, but he played in Japan, and he knows about the transition that Kosuke Fukudome has coming to the U.S.
It's very difficult when you come from another country and play here, especially with the language. So I said to him that, you know, whatever he needs, he can ask to everybody because, you know, we are normal personal, and he can be, you know, he can be like a little quiet, but he have a lot of people can help him out here in the United States.
Yeah, I got a chance to sit with Alfonso and talk to him about that, and he said, you know, the language barrier, obviously it's very difficult because not as many people speak Japanese in baseball over here anyway, and, you know, just ordering food, the adjustment to travel. He got into all those things. He said it's going to take him, you know, a good first half of the season to really get accustomed to how things are done over here in the U.S.
And he awaits a 1-1 count.
And the only thing I can compare that to, Billy, is going to winter ball in Puerto Rico.
Just getting ready to ask you, did you play winter ball?
Yeah, in Colombia, different countries. And
1-1 is bounced on to play. Terrio still second.
You know, you're going in a restaurant and you can't speak the language. You're pointing at the menu going, you know, you're seeing a picture. Oh, that looks like chicken. I'll take that right there.
And it's still so much easier for U.S.-born players to play elsewhere, as Terrio has his stolen base. He doesn't have to slide, because there's more English spoken in other countries than whatever other language is spoken here. That's a pretty good curveball from Warman, and the count evens at 2.
But at the end of the day, it still comes down to what are you going to do on the field, and that just comes down to learning pitchers, being familiar with how guys release the ball. You have such an advantage when you can see a guy over and over and over having an idea how he's going to attack you. And I think that's why he'll have a better second half than he will the first half. Now, I'm not saying he's going to tank in the first half. He may come up with big numbers, but I think his second half will be even that much better because it's an adjustment. I know everybody says, well, they're adjusting to him, but he's doing more of the adjusting than they are to him. You agree with that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. The 2-2, fastball a little bit low and outside, and the count runs full. Warman's on the Mariners' 40-player roster, 25 years of age, 11th round pick in 2003. He sets for the payoff pitch, and a broken bat roller to second. Lopez scoops. Jose makes the play 4-3. However, Fukudome gets the job done, advancing the runner from second to third. With one out now for Matt Merton. We'll see how early in the game the Mariners will play their infield. And let's see, Lopez is in. Now he says something to Kiger. And Mark walks in as well, as you see there.
And this is just a matter of working on a situation. I think, you know, any other time they may just play him back, give him the run or whatever, but they're going to work on bringing those infielders in.
Breaking ball just missed, low and inside for ball 1.
What was your approach at the plate when you had infield drawn in on you?
Please let me get an RBI.
You know, sometimes guys overswing when you get the infield drawn in. I used to do that sometimes. You have to really concentrate on just staying with your same approach and hit a ball hard, because if you sit there and go, all right, I got him drawn in, I can drive it by somebody.
The 2-0. There's a line drive. It stays fair. There's an RBI opportunity for Matt, but it slices foul.
Nice
well, with
approach.
you, they always had to worry about the bunt, too, because you could drive down a squeeze with less than 2 outs, obviously.
Yeah, and I used to hate the squeeze bunt. They used to
Come on, how many times Dick Williams gave you the squeeze?
He gave me that a lot. I used to hate that. It was like, I got the infield drawn in. You're making me squeeze?
Worman sets for the 2-1. Breaking ball just a little bit low and inside. Merton ahead of the count, 3 balls and 1 strike. Matt had some playoff experience last year. Cubs making the playoffs and losing to the Arizona Diamondbacks. 3-1 fastball. And chopped off the heel of Kiger. Lopez picks it up and throws to first in time. And LaHare manages to stay on the bag for the out.
Well, that's one of those plays that Terrio, there's nothing he can do. That ball's hit so sharp to the shortstop. As soon as it kicks away, you can't take off and run because you can't get a jump. Lopez is going to throw you out at home. I mean, this is just one of those bad luck situations. He can't run right there, and they get the out.
But a great play by Lopez to be moving towards where the ball was hit. to put himself in that situation to make the play on the carom off Kiger's glove.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice.
Micah Hoffpower, the batter. Mike is 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored. He can play. He's an all-star. Count evens at 1. Yeah, you wanted that fast. You wanted that pitch up in your eyes up here, didn't you?
Yeah, you want that back right there.
Flinching up here. Yeah.
And those are the things that, early in spring, guys are missing pitches, and, he's thinking, man, that's a ball I need to hit. And I know he's trying to make a club, and that probably is a ball he needs to hit. But I can understand why he didn't quite get what he wanted to do with it.
This should slice out of play, and it does. Reed giving it a look. Jeremy sees it. It goes up about 7 rows. We're tied at 2. Cubs batting. Top of the 5th inning.
Talking with a lot of different managers and different players, and a lot of people think you try to get your batters about 65, 70 at bats in spring training, so when they're ready to break the spring, they've seen pretty much every situation you can get your timing on. I remember Will Clark years ago saying, once I get 65 at bats, I'm dialed in. Well, I never counted that. I was like, okay, well, if they give me 65 at bats, that means I'm making the team. I'm happy. But if I didn't get 65 at bats, I was probably going to AAA anyway.
2-2. Cut on and missed. Real good curveball by Orman, and that'll end the inning for the Cubs. They strand a base runner at third. They have stranded 4 through 5, and as we go to the bottom of the 5th, it remains 2-2. The third member of our broadcast team, Ed Randall, is down on the first base side. Eddie?
Thanks, Billy. How different it would be if John Lieber had remained with the New York Yankees. He's back with the Chicago Cubs with his second tour of duty. John Lieber in 2001 won 20 games for the Chicago Cubs, and then after the 2002 season, they declined to offer him salary arbitration, and he was seriously hurt. He needed Tommy John surgery, and he left the Cubs. And in a stunning move, Brian Cashman and the Yankees signed him to a 2-year deal, knowing that they'd only have to pay him $300,000 while he missed the entire 2003 season and came back and won 14 games for the Yankees in 2004. After the 2004 season, Brian Cashman decided to decline Lieber's $8 million option, and he went on to sign a 3-year deal with the Philadelphia Phillies and won 17 games that first year. Upon reflection, Brian Cashman said it was one of the biggest mistakes since he has been a general manager, and you wonder what John Lieber's career would have been like had he remained in New York. Let's go back upstairs.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. I think one of the questions during that period of time that he went from the Yankees to the Phillies, they wanted some pitchers that could miss bats, and I think they wanted more power pitching, and may have influenced Brian Cashman's decision not to re-sign him.
Yeah, I think the big part of the whole story, though, is the fact that Lieber was able to come back from Tommy John surgery. And, it's a long process, and as guys are going through that, just the mental anguish of, will I be able to come back and still be able to bounce back and be effective? And here he is in 2008, he's still throwing and being effective in a ball game. And I think that's amazing that he's been able to do that.
Went 2 innings this afternoon, gave up 2 earned runs on 3 hits and struck out 1. But it seemed as though, as you look at Jeff Samardzija, the former football player at Notre Dame, wide receiver, Cubs tied him up so he wouldn't play football again professionally, at least not in the next 3 years. I believe they signed him to a 3-year, $17 million deal. Sounds like a big league contract, doesn't it? It's 3 years, $17 million.
Yeah, they gave him a big league contract. The interesting thing is you watch him in the football season playing for Notre Dame. He looks like a football player, but if you look at him on the mound, he actually looks like a pitcher. He's lanky. He's got good release. He looks like a pitcher. I've seen a lot of football players try to pitch, and they don't look like a pitcher. He does.
They look a little like they don't have enough flexibility in their shoulder and too muscle bound.
Yeah.
Jeremy Reed took a strike. Count evens at 1-1. I was trying to figure out whether, and they've made some other defensive changes. We'll give you those in a second. But I was trying to figure out, would you make, I'm always about the money, would you make more money in your first 3 years, 3 years, $17 million, or as a first-round draft pick, as he probably would have been in the National Football League?
I think he made more because you have a salary cap in football. So he probably made more money with baseball. Plus, you know, if he liked them, let's say he liked both sports equally, just being able to be healthy after pitching compared to running across the middle in NFL football can't catch a pass. I think that played a little bit into it too.
3-1, a little bit low and inside. So Samardzija walks his first batter. That is Jeremy Reed. That will take us to the bottom of the order, and Mark Kiger, the shortstop. Samardzija replaces Sean Marshall, who threw in and out of trouble, but he threw well. Walked 3, however. Struck out 1, had a good curveball going out, too.
And he was able to throw 2 double play balls to get out of the inning, and I think that's important to look at also.
First pitch swing, liner to right, moving to his right is, let's see, that is no longer Fukudomi in right. So Kiger lines to right. That'll take us to the top of the order, and Ichiro Suzuki. Let's see. Tyler Colvin is in right field. Colvin is in right.
Yep. This is the part of spring where you start seeing guys that are going to end up in the minor leagues and in the futures game and different things like that. And this is what the managers are actually watching to see what young guys can be competitive. The first few games of spring training, you're going to have your veteran guys get 2, maybe 3 at bats. That's how they do it. Not necessarily innings played, but at bats. And then after they at bats, you go get your work in. You go do your running, or you may go down to the cage and take more swings or whatever you feel like you need to do to get yourself ready for the next day and also for the season to start in 6 weeks.
So do you think this is Ichiro's last at bat?
Yes, I do.
Slices 1 foul, and the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike. We're tied at 2. Mariners batting in the home half of the 5th.
Well, I was talking about Ryan Theriot, and he got the base hit. Then we had to jump ahead of that. But Theriot was saying I wanted to have 3 at bats because the 3rd at bat, now I go up there and I've already got an idea what I'm trying to do at the plate. I've had a couple at bats where I've had the situational hit or whatever. But the 3rd at bat, it's your at bat, and this is Ichiro's at bat now, where he gets to hit what he wants and feel good about it. At that one.
1-3 on the putout as Reed moves into scoring position, but with 2 out.
It's a nice little sinker right there from Samardzija. He's a big guy too.
He looked a little thin to me when I saw him at the rookie career development program, but you could tell that he's just an athlete, though.
Yeah, I meant in height and stature.
Yeah.
He's about 6'4", 6'5". Yeah.
Oh, he's right on top of it. Willie Bloomquist, the batter. Willie can play everywhere on the diamond. He's at third base today, and he's had a couple of those swings.
He keeps thinking that fastball's coming. They keep throwing that curveball. Willie, wait a second.
Coy Hill has that down. Let's see, is that Coy behind the plate? Outside, the count evens at 1-1. Let's see. We had a half inning in which they made multiple substitutions. That's still Coy.
When you start getting those numbers up there, 55, 66, 67.
1-1, chopped off the plate foul.
One of my favorite spring training stories is I was playing with a guy named Jeff Schaefer, and he was wearing like number 68. He was facing Nolan Ryan. So he goes to the plate.
This story's funny already.
The first pitch, strike 1. It wasn't even close, but it's a strike. And Schaefer turns around to the umpire and he goes, "I'm number 68, huh?" And the umpire goes, "Yep." He goes, "That's Nolan Ryan out there, huh?" And he goes, "Yep." He said, "I better be swinging, huh?" He said, "Yep." And that was his at bat. That was his first big league at bat. He said, "I faced Nolan Ryan wearing number 68. I was done."
Soft line to second, knocked down by Figueroa. Luis recovers in time for the 4-3 putout, and the Mariners out of their half of the 5th inning. They strand a base runner in scoring position. They have left through 5. They've left 3, and after 5 complete, we are tied at 2.
You know, they
And as we go to the top of the 6th, we are tied at 2. Nice crowd here. 11,500 capacity and many more on the berm. Enjoying like a picnic type of day here at the Peoria Sports Complex.
I tell you, I always loved spring training in Arizona because everything is proximity-wise so close. You can be basically 45 minutes or half an hour to almost every team, and unless you go down to Tucson, which is 2 hours away, and you got some clubs down there. But
now the Orioles are the only team that you had to train for in Florida.
Yeah, I liked the team and all that, but it was terrible being in Florida. It's a 2-hour drive to go play most of your games.
Robert Rohrbaugh, the left-hander out on the mound, 24-year-old out of Hanover, Pennsylvania. He grew up in Littletown. There's a drive to left center field, and Ichiro just plays it off the wall. And he has a play at second, but there's nobody covering second base. They had conceded a double as he hits a shot. Jake Fox. Jake has swung the bat well for the Cubs. That is his 4th hit in 9 at-bats in the spring.
Yeah, he's swinging the bat. He's dialed in. He's got a nice, compact approach. Watch how he just waits for the ball to get to him and then unloads. Now he's hit a ball to right center. He hits that ball to left center. So when you're doing that, you're dialed in pretty good.
Our national site reporter and one who knows a lot about the Seattle Mariners, Jim Street, joins us as Figueroa shows bunt and fouls it off to the left.
Hi, Jim.
Actually, I know more about Harold Reynolds than the Mariners.
Oh, let's hear. Let's hear. Let's hear. We've got plenty of time. Yes, we do. Let's hear.
Well, this is a situation, Jim, that I would have been in here. Figueroa's trying to make a club, and what's Lou do? He's making him bunt, and this is what he's going to have to do to be effective on this team, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and if he doesn't, Lou will be really happy. See, or hit to the right side.
There you go.
There we go.
Except he hit it so hard, they have Fox in a rundown, and I think they are going to run him down barely.
Well, you know, if you're watching that from Lou Pinilla's perspective, he tried to bunt, he missed the bunt foul, and then he did his job driving the ball to the right side. And
just hit it too hard, didn't he?
Yeah. So, you know, he can't be too upset about it.
No. Lou doesn't get upset.
No.
About too much.
No. And then they executed the rundown, although it was sloppy, but they got the out. That's something they would work on tomorrow, I'm sure.
And generally, you as a middle infielder know that you want to run that player back if you had a choice between bases, the base that he came from as opposed to the base that he's going to.
Jim, what you got for us, man? What are you bringing to the table today?
Ask me a question, Harold.
What was Lou saying today about the situation with Marquise? You know anything about that?
He didn't say anything about Marquise, but he did talk about DeRosa coming back and talked about how they've really had a lot of injuries. Because there's kind of a rule that you've got to have so many quote major league players in a lineup for every spring game, and he said he's having a tough time fielding a team every day.
Yeah, we were talking about that early on as you saw Alex Cintron drive the ball just past a diving Willie Bloomquist for a double and a ribby. We were talking about that earlier. One of the keys Lou's looking for is some depth. He was saying that to me the other day. They just are very shallow when it gets past their starting 9.
They do, and so that's they have to stay healthy. To be there. Obviously favored to probably win the Central again. So I think they do have to stay very healthy.
Do you think with all the moves that the Brewers made and they only faltered down the stretch in the last week that maybe the Brewers might be the favorite team in that division?
Well, I think they led most of the way last year, didn't they? So I think they're going to end up, in Sheets to get him back, and I think they missed him for a while. So, I mean, it could be between those two teams.
Now, what's happening on the Seattle side? What are they talking about?
Well, I think it's they're talking about beating the Angels, and I think they're going to give them a good run. They love the rotation. I mean, anytime you have a 16-game winner as your number 5 starter, I mean, that's pretty good.
It's pretty nice.
And McLaren is just they're doing a lot of things this year, trying to
There's that spring training pickoff work right there. Then we'll get back to Jim. I was telling him earlier, spring training, that's the stuff they work on.
One hopper to short. And they're going to go to third, and that's the Cardinal sin there.
You ever have 3 outs at third base the same inning?
I'm telling you, it looks like it. We're supposed to ask you that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're supposed to know that. But no, the Mariners are impressive. Stoudemire was saying this may be one of the best pitching staffs that he's had.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he's saying, because, I mean, he had all those Yankee teams, but he said he said he can't remember ever going to a Yankee camp and saying, okay, here's the 5 starters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like he could this year. And he said there's probably not many teams out there even now can even get down to 4. So, I mean, he's thrilled to death with what he has here.
Ronnie Cedeno with a base hit to right center. That'll send Hill from first to third with 2 out.
The interesting thing is we were talking about Eric Bedard. And I was talking to Dave Niehaus about Eric Bedard, and he said Bedard said the other day, he told the media, this is the last time you're talking to me all season.
Well, he said that to me, like, the second day I asked him. I said, how'd the TV commercial go? And he said, I'm not interviewing. No more interviews. And this is like the 3rd day of camp, so it's going to be interesting. He's going to
have to get accustomed to the Northwest real quick.
Oh, gosh.
Or he better throw up some Steve Carlton numbers.
Was he like that in Baltimore?
From what I understand, pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Well, I'd heard things, but you never really know until you run into somebody, and it's just really weird. I mean, it's just everything is one. You ask me a question, it's like a sentence. If his games are if he's as good with his words, if his pitches are like his words, we'll have a lot of hour-and-a-half games this year.
Well, the other day he had a long hour-and-a-half in 1 inning, and everybody's like, "What's wrong with him?"
Well, yeah,
they panic a little bit.
A little bit. You know how they are, how we are. Writers, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Jim, good to see you again. Thanks for the information.
Okay, Bill.
We'll have to do this again.
All right.
Real soon.
Thanks.
Cubs lead 3-2.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh. 15 years, Peoria has been the home for the Seattle Mariners and the San Diego Padres. And this afternoon, it's the Mariners hosting the Chicago Cubs, and the Mariners trail 3-2, batting in the bottom of the 6th inning. Jeff Samardzija, the 6'5" right-hander out of Notre Dame, delivers the first pitch to Greg Norton. It's fouled off to the left.
Yes, Samardzija's been impressive. He's got a nice little sinker. He seems to have some pretty good command of his off-speed pitch. And, I was looking forward to watching him because I love college football. And obviously, I got a chance to see him play football. Wow.
3-1. He's athletic.
Yeah, he's athletic. He's going to get over there. But the first baseman, man, he got a bad break on that ball. Sometimes in spring training, because there's so many white shirts in the stands, the ball's hit and you're still standing there. And then, oh, let me go get it. The easiest way. Oh, there it is. Let me go get this thing.
Usually you have to lead the pitcher there. Samardzija was already
he's
there.
Sitting there going, throw me the pass. You know he's going to catch it, too. That's the other thing.
Motioning to keep his side in, keep compact, is the 6'5" right-hander who delivers pitch that's chopped to the right side.
That's it. Pick. I'm telling you, this field must be a little rough or something, because these guys are struggling on some ground balls. I was telling you last inning, I said, when's somebody going to catch a ball clean? You know, even Fontenot on this ball right here, he pulled the old, let me spin, and if it gets by me, it's a hit. If not, I got the out.
Think maybe he's anticipating a bad hop. Was Mike?
Well, I don't know.
Quick inning for Samardzija. 1, 2, 3. And we've completed 6. And it's 3-2 Cubs. And one of those who is in the starting lineup today for the Cubs is their outfielder, Matt Merton. Matt, welcome to the broadcast, along with Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, I was wondering last year in the playoff experience that you had, and there were only 4 at-bats, but still they were meaningful at-bats at the time you were playing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Can you take something like that, even in a loss, and build upon it for the following year, and because that's where you want to go and be for this year?
Yeah, you know what? When you finish the year on a sour note like that, it's never easy. I think once you make it to the playoffs, I think every team is vying, obviously, to keep pushing deeper and deeper. But like you said, at the end of the year, you have to be thankful for the second half that we were able to put together. Getting that playoff experience, I know for me as an individual, it was the first time I had been in that environment. So I think you learn from it. You start to learn how to maybe harness your emotions a little bit more, and hopefully the next time you get an opportunity to be there, you can have a little more success.
Matt, you've arrived, man. You've already arrived. You come out of the game early. You're doing interviews. You are there.
No, sir. No. Not yet. Not yet, man.
Hey, let me ask you a question. A lot of guys coming out of college baseball and advancing to the major leagues. Was that a philosophy for you coming out of high school? And when did you see that trend start happening?
You know what? Really, I just kind of took it a step at a time. God gave me the ability to play the game, and I had that great opportunity to play at Georgia Tech, and it was a stepping stone for me to move on to the next level. And you have started to see that trend. You've seen a lot of guys going to college. I think those 3 years of the ability to mature there from 18 to 21 is huge, and I think that you'll see these guys finding a way to get to the major league level a lot sooner coming out of college, maybe so than they would if they came out of high school.
Well, Matt, not only a good program at Georgia Tech, but you've got to have some smarts to go there as well.
Yeah,
was there ever any concern about that?
Right. Maybe a little bit. I mean, they find a way to sneak us under the radar a little bit, but you still have to do all right on your SAT. So
that's good. That's good.
Can you still get your work done even though you've got that busy spring baseball schedule?
Oh, yeah, you definitely can. I mean, you're referring to college?
Yes.
That is, yeah. Yeah, you can. I mean, it's tough. Georgia Tech is an institution where the classroom is serious, and you have to be able to manage your time. I think time management's huge, and there's just a lot of values that you learn in those 3 years, and the ability to, like I said, to manage your time and get your work done off the field as well as on it. And I think that it helps you no matter if you succeed in the game or not.
Matt, last question for me real quick. Right. Playing for Lou Piniella, was it kind of intimidating at first, and especially when you saw one of his rants, did you go, man, I better not get out of line with this guy?
Yeah. You know what? I like everybody. I think you've seen a little bit of the stuff that you see on TV. And I mean, whenever you have a new guy, you got to get a feel for him. He has to get to know you. You got to get to know him. And there's definitely that little edge there with Lou Piniella that he wants to make sure that you obviously, ultimately for him, it's about winning baseball games. And he wants guys to play hard. And I think that so long as you do that, you're all right. But you don't want to cross Lou. You don't want him on your bad side.
Matt, thanks for your time. Good luck this year.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck, Matt.
Thank you.
Matt 1 for 3 this afternoon as Tyler Colvin in his first plate appearance. He's behind the count, 2 strikes.
Well, that's pretty funny, He's right. You don't want to get on any manager's bad side, really, but particularly Lou. He can intimidate you a little bit. But he wants to test you to make sure that you're going to be strong and be willing to take that, too, and stand up against it.
But Lou apologized yesterday to Jason Marquis after Marquis let it be known that he wants to be a starting pitcher, and if not here, then somewhere else. And then somebody came to Lou after a loss, and Lou was quick with his response. His retort was not very flattering to Jason. He and Jason had a 10-minute conversation, and everything is okay, and Lou apologized. Curveball, that is skied deep to center.
Jimerson out there.
Jimerson had some plays in yesterday's ball game and played a little bit last year with the Mariners towards the end of the year.
Well, I saw Charles Jimerson at the University of Miami. Aeronautics and space engineering major. Walked on at University of Miami. Wow. You talk about smart. But he's some kind of talent.
Let's see. Josh Kroger. Just getting down our wholesale changes, as will happen especially early in the spring. As we get deeper into the spring training season towards the regular season, they'll make fewer changes.
He put up some big numbers last year.
Double-A West Tennessee. Line drive base hit. You can understand why.
Yeah, that's nice stroke right there.
1 on 1 out for Micah Hoffpower.
Well, and you know, they talked, or Jim Street was talking about when he was here, that the Cubs are having a tough time fielding enough Major League Baseball players to put on the diamond. There's a rule that you have to have like 4 starters, I believe, that have Major League experience that come over and at least play in your lineup.
Right.
And Lou said he's having a tough time. That's why you're seeing all these 68, 66, 67. You know, these are guys that are vying for jobs and opportunities and really wouldn't qualify under the we're sending Major League players to come play the game.
Without Soriano, without Ramirez with the sore shoulder.
Well, you look around today.
Who else is there?
Derek
Lee.
Lee's not here. Ramirez isn't here today. You do have Fontenot and Terrio and Cedeno. I think he would fit in that category. So you're going to get by. Then you got.
Well, if you don't have them, you don't have
some
them.
pitchers.
Yeah. John Lieber.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 to 5 you try to bring, unless you have a split squad, then you're pretty much on your own after that.
This is the time that these young players need to take advantage of it, because you're in front of the manager every day during the workouts and then in the games, and he's going to throw your name in the lineup. And if you're producing, he's going to keep throwing you out there, and the more you get a chance to be seen, the better your opportunity of making the big league club either in the spring or later on in the year becomes better.
Good point, especially later on in the year. As Stephen Kahn sets for the 3-0 pitch. And he gets a strike.
Well, speaking with Lou the other day, he said, you know, one of the things he looks for in spring training is what young guys, if we have injuries or we need to make a trade or different things like that, do I think can be a player I can plug in and play for me. And he learns that in spring training. This is his chance to see him.
And maybe of interest, too, for the Cubs, because they have more pitching, starting pitching here in camp. They have 4 pitchers, 2 of those pitched today, and John Lieber and Sean Marshall vying for that number 5 spot. So they could possibly package pitching to get deeper with their position players. It appears that Kruger is moving towards second base.
Yeah, it might be at 3-1. He's probably just a straight steal, and you're letting the hitter swing the bat. I'm sure there's not a hit and run situation.
Takes off, line drive.
Could be a run. Let's see what happens.
He stopped momentarily at second, but he's going to be waved around. And the Cubs add to their lead. It is now 4-2 Chicago.
It's impressive. He got a fastball inside. And you're thinking turn. He got the pitch he wanted to turn on, and runners running on that play. Beautiful. Nice execution. We've seen some good execution today. And that, you can tell, that's what he's looking for. He wants something inside, and they gave it right to him.
We're going to want to grab a bat before the afternoon is over, the way we're talking up here. Jake Fox has swung a pretty good bat all spring. 4 for 9 in the spring. He has an RBI triple this afternoon and a double after that. He takes a little bit lower outside.
Fox has had a big day.
One of his previous hits before coming into today's contest left the ballpark. So he's had a good spring to this point. 284 hitter last year. Popped him up. This is playable for the infield, though it's a tough time of the day.
Willie Bloomquist has moved from third to second, it looks like, but maybe that's not Willie. He is right now. Until we get his number.
Until we get his number, yes. And I know how important this is for everybody, and I don't mean to make light of it, but sometimes when you're making those multiple changes, it's tough to pick up. That's Tug Hewlett. Tug was playing in yesterday's ball game as well. So.
I'm wondering, is that Tim Hewitt's son? I believe it is. We'll have to check that out.
Further.
you further dig into that one. I'll take Fontenot right now. You know, Fontenot's an interesting player for the Cubs too, because he can play around the diamond, and he's a left-handed bat, and he was one of the guys that ignited that great run they had last year, and he's going to be an important part of this team also. And I like the combination of Theriot and Fontenot up the middle when they played together. They played together at LSU. Now, how rare is that, where you play together in college and then you end up playing together in the big leagues?
I can't think of another combination offhand.
No, I've never seen that. No, not playing at a college level. You know, I've seen guys through the minor leagues progress and play together in the big leagues, but not at a college level. The odds of being drafted by the same team and then get an opportunity to advance through the organization together is real rare.
And you are right, sir. Tug is the son of Tim.
That's right. Tim Hewitt, former Major League infielder. White Sox and the Orioles.
Cardinals. 3-1, taking low and inside. So Fontenot in his first plate appearance, he walks. Runners at first and second, 2 away. Let's see this.
Casey McGee.
McGee in for Centron. Alex was 1 for 3. Cubs have scored 1 in the top of the 7th inning and lead 4-2. They have 11 base hits.
Yeah, it's been a good day for the Cubs. They've done some things well. I thought Marshall threw the ball pretty good. He came up with a couple double plays that got out of innings, but his stuff was pretty impressive. And Centron's played a nice game, and Cedeno played good in center and got himself a base hit and tried to hit and run, got a man over. You know,
well, what you're talking about is the little things that you can take out of a game that might otherwise seem lackluster, but still, if you're evaluating talent, your talent in particular, you can still be pleased with, or you can still think that you got something out of the afternoon.
Absolutely, and that's how most managers will look at a game. You know, as a fan, you're sitting here and you're saying, well, they scored 4, we had 4-2. And, you know, they may end up losing this game before it's all said and done. But I still think they walk away with some very positive, fruitful things that happened today.
Fastball and lined over leaping Leher at first base. Another runner is in. And Fontenot rounds third. He'll score. A 2-run double off the bat of McGee. The Cubs have scored 4 in the inning and now lead 6-2. We've seen quite a few opposite field hits. Means the hitters are generally going with the pitch, or maybe even a little bit behind the fastball, but we'll just say the former at this juncture and say that they are just taking the ball where it's pitched.
Yeah, it's been a nice approach. I'm sure Gerald Perry, hitting coach for the Cubs, is very happy with that, what he's been able to see at the plate.
This is Wellington Castillo.
Wellington, I like that.
Yeah, I do too. This is his first plate appearance. He has a runner in scoring position as he takes a fastball about knee-high inside, and the count evens at 1.
Wellington Castillo. There's some names that just kind of sound cool.
Kahn's target for the 1-1's outside, and he hits the target. And his slice is fouled down the right field line. Tomorrow will be here as well. The Padres, the other team that's housed here at the Peoria Sports Complex, will host the Giants. That's like a regular season matchup for them. And then on Wednesday, we'll finish our Arizona spring training broadcast locally or through our own in-house production, and we'll have the Brewers and the Rangers from Surprise. The 1-2 high fly ball right, and that should end the inning. The Cubs send 7 to the plate, and they score 4. And as we go to the bottom of the 7th, the stretch part of our contest, the Cubs lead 6-2. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample on with it. We throw it down to the third member of our broadcast booth, Ed Randall.
Thanks so much, guys. Of all the people that are here in uniform, the Cubs and the Mariners, the manager of the Seattle Mariners, John McLaren, has the most unusual beginning. When he started in the Houston Astros organization in the early 70s, his roommate was a guy named Clark Gillies. Clark Gillies decided to play hockey rather than baseball. He had been signed by the Houston Astros, and he went on to have 6 seasons of more than 30 goals in a 12-year career and wound up in the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2002. You guys were talking earlier in the game about McLaren being with Lou Piniella for 16 seasons. He, of course, was with him at Tampa and had an opportunity to join Piniella on this Chicago Cubs bench before Lou got started in 2007. But John sat down with his wife, Maria, and they made a list of assets and liabilities with all of the opportunities that they had with various clubs, and they decided that Seattle won in a walk. And then Mike Hargrove, on July the 1st, decided that he, quote, no longer had the passion. His passion had begun to fade. His words. And John McLaren, after many, many years, finally got an opportunity to manage in the major leagues. Let's go back upstairs.
Okay, thanks, Eddie. I don't know if there's any truth to the rumor that Ed Randall and Clark Gillies had an altercation in which Randall just whipped up on Gillies. But he was some kind of player and a goal scorer as well, scoring 30 goals and could protect things with the Islanders in their run of Stanley Cups in the early 1980s. 6-2, Cubs leading the Mariners. Mariners coming to the plate in the bottom of the 7th inning. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample here up in the booth. And a good crowd. The Cubs travel extremely well. And earlier this afternoon, when we were working on things down on the field, you could see the number of Cubs fans. And they are very loyal. And they have been waiting for 100 years for a World Series title. The last time they won a World Series title was in 1908. Made the playoffs last year, Lou Piniella's first year with the club. And we'll see if that's a start of things to come. Can you imagine winning a title on the north side of Chicago?
Oh, it'd be crazy. You know, I was the other day over at the Cubs complex talking with Peter Chase, their public relations guy, and he was with the Red Sox until the last 2 years. He's been in Chicago now, and he said it's very similar to when before the Red Sox won after their 86-year drought, and they finally won. He said, you know, the passion of the fans is very similar. And I'm sure if you go to a spring training game out in Florida, Red Sox fans are everywhere. You go to a Cub game, it doesn't matter if it's in Tucson, if it's Scottsdale, Peoria, Surprise, they're showing up. They pack it out everywhere they go.
Scott Iyer, the pitcher, the 4th pitcher used this afternoon, replacing Jeff Samardzija. And popped up on the left side. That's a tough Scott. You were talking about it earlier.
Making that play, though, a little snow cone.
McGee with the 2-run double and with the defensive play to start off the bottom of the 7th.
Well, Scott Ayers is an interesting pitcher. You know, I didn't know where he was at, and the Cubs got to be excited about the possibility if this guy can come back or throw the way he's capable of throwing years ago. Not that he's been out of it. I'm just saying that the level he pitched at a couple years ago, if he can get to that level, that's a great addition for them.
Dempster now going to be a starter, so the Howery is battling for the closer spot. But it seems as though the Cubs have enough pitching. It's just where it's all going to slot. We talked about Jason Marquis and his desire to be a starter, but as Lou said, there were 4 pitchers vying for 2 spots in the back end of the rotation. Zambrano, Lilly, and Hill are set. Rich Hill, they are set. 1, 2, 3. 0-2 to Hewlett. And this sky to the left side. And caught in fair ground for out number 2.
Yeah, when you start thinking about guys vying for opportunities and how are you going to do that, as soon as they get the ball, they better throw well. You know, it's not well, you're starting tomorrow and you're starting the following day, because you have to get the rest of the staff in shape. So they'll do it through B games when guys are throwing early morning starts, or they'll do it in a situation like this when they may come into a ball game after the 4th or 5th inning and throw. When you get that ball, you better compete and deliver.
Sardania takes a strike. Bronson Sardania.
That's another great name. Bronson Sardania.
Movie star type name.
Yeah, no doubt.
Mariners batting in the bottom of the 7th, trailing by 4. Count evens at 1.
As long as he doesn't hit like a movie star, he'll be all right. You know, those actors, man, they can't hit.
Well, Kurt Russell could hit a little bit.
Yeah, he could.
He made it
a
double-A
baseball
ball.
player,
Yeah,
so that's
player,
okay.
Yeah. Right.
Actually, Dennis Quaid's swing started to come around a little bit. You know, I watched him sometimes.
And the rookie?
Yeah, but he was okay.
1-1 inside.
Swing was all right.
Let's
see.
see.
He's throwing the ball a little bit more than hitting. But, you know, Robert Redford.
Kevin
in the
Costner.
natural.
Bull Durham.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like he could swing a little bit.
Looked like it, but man, I made the mistake one time of having one of those guys in the celebrity softball game. I said, oh, they got to be able to hit. I watched the movies. They look terrible.
Had some doubles and extras, did they?
Yeah.
Just wide at first. The count evens at 2. I think there's somebody else, some actor that I saw swing, and I thought, oh, that wasn't too bad.
You know who used to?
The guy that played the dad in Malcolm in the Middle. I've seen him at functions. I can't think of his name right now, but he swings the bat fairly.
I don't think of him either. You know, Michael Bolton used to have a softball team that traveled around, the celebrity softball team, and he was a pretty good softball player. The singer, you know. He's a pretty good softball. I know you knew who he was, but, you know, somebody out there may not. He's pretty good.
Count runs full to Sardania.
Well, you see Sardania's approach at the plate. He chokes up a little bit, and this young man looks like he's got a pretty good swing. I like the ball. He pulled foul. He got out in front of it a little bit, but to get an opportunity against a left-hander like Air with his resume, and got him with a nasty little 3-2 slider. That's not fair at spring training.
Took something off.
Where's the fastball? 3-2.
And the Cubs have pitched well. In fact, the Mariners haven't a base hit since the 2nd inning, as we've completed 7. And it's the Cubs leading 6-2. You're watching Cactus League action on MLB.tv. The Cubs batting in the top of the 8th inning with a 6-2 lead.
Well, game recap, you can look back. Fox has had a big day. He swung the bat very well for the for the Cubs. He's 2 for 3 with the RBI, the double, and the big triple. Cintron, you know, he's 1 for 3, but he handled the bat well. Samardzija was impressive, Billy. I liked his stuff, you know. He was athletic, getting over on ground balls, but the sinker was working. And Washburn, he worked fast, threw the ball over the plate, and that's why we're moving through the time zone pretty good here as we head to the 8th.
I would say just how quickly we are moving, but that would be the kiss of death.
Yes, we'll just
of a broadcaster.
let it keep rolling.
I'd say that, yes. Sean White, the batter, a chopper deep short. Miguel Cairo in the game. Miguel was on deck when the final out was made, and he will bat in the 9th spot.
I like Cairo. Cairo's a nice guy coming off the bench for you. Cedeno with another base hit. He's had a good day, and he's done the things that he needs to do to impress the manager to be the type of player that they're looking for. And he's also got some pop when he needs it, but he's handled the bat real well.
Sean White had a rough outing, his first outing in the spring. Had a little major league time last year. 1-1 in 15 relief appearances. This is Andres Blanco's second plate appearance. Chopped into a force play, his first, that in the 6th. Change up outside. 2-0 the count. 6 runs on 13 hits for the Cubs. Harold was talking earlier about Gerald Perry and how pleased he would be with the way that the Cubs are swinging the bats. This afternoon, Gerald could swing the bat a little bit in his day as well, coming up with the Braves in the mid-1980s.
Yeah, good looking left-handed swing, and you throw a ball inside to him, he was gonna hurt you.
And could steal a base or two every once in a while. In fact, I think he had some team record for most steals by a first baseman. Blanco's ahead of the count. White delivers a 2-0. Throws it by him upstairs.
He's coming out of his shoes on that one.
Sitting on the gas and got it, but it wasn't in the strike zone. That's the way they pitch in the American League.
Well, a lot of times you'll think that you can see that ball real well. You get a high fastball and it jumps on you, but because your head is high and the ball's up there, you think you can catch up to almost anything inside, particularly inside, up and in, and that's why you see guys swing and miss like they do right there at that high fastball.
And that's why you can get a lot of strikeouts up with a high fastball, because generally with 2 strikes you wait a little bit longer to commit. If somebody has some good giddy up upstairs, then you may not be able to catch up to it by the time you realize you need to swing.
Well, Billy, I've been waiting for Cedeno to run. I'm sure 3-1 right here. We may see him run in this situation, but I thought he would already taken off by now. Sean White's got a nice, slow, high delivery. Good guy to run on.
Takes off, and on the run and hit, chopper to the right side. A nice play by Hewlett for out number 1. So a running in scoring position, a runner in scoring position for Tyler Colvin. As we take another look at the run and hit.
Well, what happens 3-1, you like that runner to be running because you realize the hitter's going to get something to hit. And if he's a good hitter, he's going to be disciplined enough to get a pitch to drive. And if you got a runner running that all of a sudden the hitter realizes it's a pitch he doesn't want to hit, he's got a chance to steal that bag. So that's why at 3-1, a lot of teams will run on that count.
Now, you said earlier you like to run on the 2-2. You thought that was a good count in which to steal.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have to throw a strike. So if it's a fastball, most hitters are going to put it in play. If it's a breaking pitch, they're probably going to swing and miss or take it, and that's the pitch you want to steal the bag on anyway, is a breaking ball. That's why I always like running on 2-2.
You like running on 2-2. Okay. And you were the one that broke the string that Ricky Henderson had of leading the American League in steals for, what did he do it, about 10 consecutive years?
Yeah, he
would have done it for 10 consecutive years.
Yeah, the whole decade, yeah.
Good curveball, fastball swing. Tyler behind the count, 1-2. And you had 60 that year?
60, yeah, 1987. I was fortunate enough to Ricky got hurt, so I got a chance to lead the league.
That's going to be a good trivia question at some point. Fastball just missed inside. 2-2 the count. Except you're so visible that you can't be trivialized.
Okay. I wish that were the case. But
2-2, strike 3 call. And Mr. Colvin will take the bat back to the dugout.
Yeah. How about that right there? He's a little frustrated just seeing a fastball right down the middle. Think he was guessing a little bit too much there, or what do you think happened?
Sometimes you just don't pull the trigger.
And that ball's right down the middle.
Thought maybe it was inside, and you're trying to be selective, and all of a sudden it's by you. Josh Kroger, the batter. Josh had a single to center, and he scored ahead of a Huff Power double his last time.
They've got an abundance of left-handers.
But you're right, though. Lou's going to get an opportunity to see some of his young talent, and we talked about it earlier. One of the questions for the Cubs would be their depth. And with Soriano out and Ramirez out, he's going to get an opportunity to see just some of the players he may not see for the innings that he will see for the next few days. It's a pretty good breaking ball there from Sean White, who's ahead of the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cubs winning 85 games last year, winning the division down the stretch.
Yeah, that was an interesting division last year. You know, the Cardinals just didn't compete like you thought they would down the stretch. I shouldn't even say the word didn't compete. I'm sure they tried to compete every day. They just weren't able to come through at the end, and they didn't play very well. I think losing Scott Rowland really depletes that team quite a bit, too. Jim Edmonds is gone. Rowland's gone. They're going to be a lot different look for the Cardinals this year, even more so than last year. And I don't know if they'll be as competitive again this season as they were last year.
Then who of the ones in the second division of the National League Central might step up?
Well, you know what? It's funny. The Reds have always teeter-tottered around being able to do something. You know, they're a dangerous team that can hurt people. If they get any kind of pitching, they could be in the hunt for some things to happen because their offense.
But can you get pitching in that ballpark?
That's the problem. And that's what worries me about the Phillies. If you want to jump over to the National League East, that's why I just can't. I'm not sold on the Phillies are going to win the division again. The Mets collapsed last year at the end of the year, or the Phillies don't win that division. But that's a tough ballpark to pitch in also.
Curveball tried the back door but missed, and the count runs full. Braves say don't forget about us.
Well, the Braves are going to be there. They're going to be competitive, no doubt about it. And last year they made a nice run. They really made a nice transition towards the end of that second half of the season. So that's the type of club you hope that you have to start the year this year.
Tapper to short. And Miguel Cairo running towards first as he scooped it up. Makes the play, 6-3. And the Cubs out of their half of the 8th inning. After 7.5, the Cubs do not add to their 6-2 lead. You're watching Cactus League Baseball on MLB.tv. Nice high sky here in Peoria, Arizona. Temperature in the mid 60s, a little cooler today. Wind blowing 15 to 16 miles an hour after 7.5 innings of play, and blowing the wind, that is, out of the northwest. And the Cubs with another pitcher on the hill, number 52, Tim Leahy. And we've seen some outstanding defense and outstanding execution.
Well, when you're expecting pitching and defense to carry a club, you got to be able to make some plays, and we've seen some nice plays today. But that's that's part of spring training too.
And it's time now for our MLB.TV. It will be in just a little bit, Eric, because we anticipated so much of those great defensive plays. I'm just chomping at the bit to see some more of those.
Well, the reason we're thinking about defense is Miguel Cairo is coming to the plate, and you talk about one of the great consistent defenders in the big leagues is Miguel Cairo. I really think the Yankees made a big mistake when they don't bring this guy back.
I was surprised too, because he went from there to the Mets, where Willie Randolph had seen him and the way he had played with the Yankees.
But particularly the Yankees in the fact that playing in New York, you're only going to get very little playing time with Jeter and Robinson Cano. And every time you threw this guy in the lineup, he came up with big hits. He came up with nice defensive plays. And that's a very difficult thing to do when you don't get a chance to play very much.
And a veteran with World Series experience.
Yep. I love this guy coming to the plate, Charlton Jemerson. I was touching on it earlier. University of Miami, walked on aeronautics and space engineering was his major, and he's going to be an astronaut. And the Mariners just learned the other day he can actually run. I was like, Charlton, man, they haven't been watching you or what? He came from the Houston Astro organization. He's just a tremendous kid, tremendous talent. He's got power. He obviously tries to bunt, show off the speed a little bit, but I think he's going to be a guy that they can really rely on. And he's one of the reasons they made that trade, to trade Adam Jones to Baltimore, because they knew they had Charlton Jemerson that could possibly have a chance of making this club this year.
I'm with you. He's looked very impressive. But little I've seen him in the spring. Cairo takes off, and the pitch is sky to center. Miguel will have to move his way back towards first base, and does so. One away in the Mariners' half of the 8th inning. And we were saying earlier, we love defense, and I know you love defense because you have a Gold Glove.
Yeah, well, you got to catch the ball if you're going to have winning teams. And here's a big play early in the game. And watch Lopez, who's got a chance to be a Gold Glove second baseman in the American League. Comes up with the big play, staying with it, keeps the runner at third base. And that's a great play right there. It's a reaction play. Here's another look at that. He's got a runner at third, and he freezes the runner and still has the presence of mind to throw to first base and get the out. So that's a nice play. And I remember when that happened, you were saying he was drifting towards shortstop to follow the baseball, and that was one of the key reasons he was able to make that play.
I'm having enough trouble speaking today, and to say this man's name, Matt Tuiasosopo is the batter.
I know he's not related to...
Yes, he is.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Manu Tuiasosopo, this is his son.
And I think he has an uncle as well that played in the National Football League.
The Tuiasosopo family, it's been some pretty good athletes. You did good with that, man. You knew what you were doing.
No, I'm having one of those days where I need to find those rennet lips. Cubs leading 6-2, playing defense in the bottom of the 8th inning. You may be able to hear over the loudspeaker the attendance for the day, 7,024. It seats about 11.5. Many of those Cubs fans.
I want to know how they account for those people out there and outside
beyond
the fence.
Yeah.
They got a couple thousand out there, usually on a nice warm day. I guess you got to pay to get into the complex, so maybe that's how they follow.
Measure how many people are here. He sets for the 2-1. Chopper to short.
Get one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough getting 2 here, but close. Fontenot made the turn.
Shortstop waited back on that ball a little bit too long, and Fontenot made it close with a nice turn. But watch the shortstop. He should bust right here. He's able to get that on the high hop. He can get it on the short hop, and he can get it to second baseman. By backing up, it allowed the base runner going to first base to get an extra 2 steps, and that was the difference in the turning that double play.
But on this hard infield, would you take a chance right now to?
No, and you got a 6-2 lead. I mean, you still got to play according to the game. So I can understand him sitting back and saying we're going to play 1 out at a time. I would have liked to see him, get 2 out of that. But maybe I'm being selfish. That was
You're having a flashback. I know what you're thinking. Hurry up and give me the ball so I can make this turn.
Yep.
Who else did you have other than Spike Owen in Seattle?
Well, I played with Omar Vizquel for a few years. He was a shortstop.
Yeah, that's a few gloves there too.
Yeah, he was a gem. Ray Quinones.
He could hit a little bit. I thought he could swing the bat a little bit.
Yeah.
He also played with the Cubs too.
And I was fortunate to play with Cal Ripken in Baltimore when I played there, and I used to tell people, man, streak. I'm playing every day. Cal's playing every day.
Double play combination, okay.
Yeah. We combined, I think, for like 35 homers that year. He hit 30, I hit 5.
Hey, 5 is good. Was it still Memorial Stadium?
No, it was at Camden Yards. Norton swung the bat well today. He hasn't had a whole lot to show for it. Switch hitting, he's got a chance to hit from all sides of the plate, both sides of the plate today.
Most of his time with the White Sox as Leahy wants a new set of signs.
Surprised the first baseman's playing that close to the bag.
With a 4-run lead?
He knew he wasn't going to hit it.
Wow, that really had a lot of tail to it as Leahy records his strikeout. The first for him as he strands a base runner at first. We've completed 8, and the Cubs lead 6-2. And we go to the top of the 9th. In Peoria, Cubs and Mariners. Cubs leading 6-2. He's one of a crowd of 7,024. He's a Mariners fan. Here's a Cubs fan.
He's a champion.
The first year under Lou Piniella, he takes them to the playoffs. Lou has a little track record.
Yeah, he does.
Winning a World Series as a player, 2 as a player, and 1 as a manager with Cincinnati in 1990.
I was sitting around talking with Lou the other day, and I said, how much of that movie, The Bronx Burning, was really actually true? And he said, about 66% of it. And it was funny listening to him talking about how he was watching it and on vacation and got a chance to watch the whole series. It was something else. It was good to hear his take on all that stuff playing back then.
The actor looked a lot like him. It's a shame that the actor was 5'7", but
yeah,
Cesar Jimenez, the new hurler for the Mariners, trying to keep the Cubs off the scoreboard. They have 13 hits. Micah Hoffpower has one of those. His last plate appearance, an RBI double in the 7th. 6 runs, 13 hits for the Cubbies. 2 runs, 4 hits. Make that 6 runs. I'm going to guess 14 hits. I think they score that a base hit.
Well, he's had a nice day, but that's probably the most impressive at bat of the day for him as far as Luke Piniella is concerned, because he got it off a left-hander. And that's what Lou's looking at. Okay, if I have to bring him in the game late to face a right-hander and they go to the bullpen and bring a lefty in, is he going to be able to handle a left-handed bat? Those are the things that we've been talking about all day, just kind of giving people a feel of what managers are thinking as they go through these spring training games.
And Jake Fox has 2 hits this afternoon. As many of you know, Alfonso Soriano broke a bone on the tip of his middle finger, his non-throwing hand, correct?
That's weird. And they're saying he's going to be back in 5 days. I don't know how he's going to be back in 5 days. Because you're looking at the bottom hand of the bat. He's going to pull that through to hit. And you take your middle. I've seen guys take their bottom finger off or their pointing finger off the bat. But the middle finger, I've never heard of that.
No,
you need to have that one to hold on and grip the bat a little bit.
And only 5 days. It seems as though, especially in spring training, if there's any chance you're going to re-injure that or have it nag you all year, you take a little more time. But we're not doctors. At least I'm not a doctor or an orthopedist. Not anybody that could pass organic chem in college. Count evens at 2 to Jake Fox. Jake with 2 doubles this afternoon and an RBI with 1 of them. Jimenez sets for the 2-2. Popped him up on the infield. Yeah, a little bit behind on the grass, maybe a step or 2 for out number 1. Tug Hewlett. Still Tug out there?
Yep, it is. We got that one down.
Mike Fontenot, the batter. For Mike, this is his second plate appearance. He walked and scored in the 7th. Still trying to find other combinations in which they played in college and played in the show together. As
well, I think we'll be looking for that one a long time, because that's pretty rare.
Fontenot and Terrio both going to LSU. Count evens at 1. Mike last year had a .278 average, 3 homers and 29 runs batted in. That in 86 games at the big league level. A lifetime .275 batter. Gets jammed there. Rolls 1 to second. Nice backhand flip by Hewlett to Cairo, but Miguel not able to make the turn. Nevertheless, 2 away.
A nice play right there. Getting that ball, getting it right back out. You know, we were talking earlier about all these college players coming up and getting a chance to play in the big leagues. The other thing about that is you better be pretty certain about the player you're drafting, because now you're cutting down the developmental time of how you're trying to put your signature of your organization on a player. And because that's one of the things that happens in the minor leagues is you develop guys, and this is how we play. This is what I'm thinking about on inside pitch. Here's how we throw it. Here's how we bunt. Here's the little fundamental things we do. When you're getting a player at 21 or 22 years old, you don't have that luxury of having 4 years to develop a player.
Good point. Casey McGahee, the batter. This is his second plate appearance. He doubled in 2 runs his first time. Was there, because you spent most of your time in Seattle, a Mariners way of doing things? Like a Dodgers way of doing things?
You know, I think at that time they were really kind of struggling for identity. You know, we were a team that was a lot like the Expos in that we were a farm system for a lot of other clubs. We were trading a lot of our top talent continually.
Off the end of the bat, and will it find a hole? No. Slice foul.
And the difference with the Mariner organization is they got to a point where Jeff Smulyan became the owner of that ball club, and first thing he did was he identified players that he wanted to give long-term contracts to, and that was able to stabilize the organization. He locked up Edgar Martinez, and he ended up locking up Griffey, and the next thing you know, it was Buhner. And that built the foundation that they're feeding off of now, where you got the Mariners on a track to be a championship team. And that was in the early 90s, and now they're not reaping the benefits really until 2000s, but it took a little while for them to do that. Obviously 95 they beat the Yankees, but it set the foundation for the Mariner organization to turn the page after really 17 years of farming.
2-1 down the right field line. That will not be playable. Mike Morris, watch out. Harold said you don't want to get hurt in spring training.
Well, Mike Morris is an interesting player too. He's a shortstop by trade, and that's the other thing I've seen more than any time in history of baseball. You're taking athletes and interchanging them in different positions and just saying, you go out there and play right field today, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've seen that a lot. I think that's really strange. They've been able to get away with it.
McGahee just took that backdoor curveball low, and the count runs full. Just had a visit from Chuck Armstrong, the president and CEO of the Seattle Mariners, and there's a broken bat liner to third, and a good battle by Jimenez and McGahee, won by Jimenez, and the Cubs out of their half of the ninth inning. They strand a base runner at first, but after 8.5, they lead the Chicago Cubs, that is, 6-2. And we go to the bottom of the ninth. Last chance for the homestanding Seattle Mariners as they trail the Chicago Cubs by the score of 6-2. Harold Reynolds, Billy Sample along with you. Glad you can join us on MLB.TV. Tomorrow we'll come to you from, well, the same places we come to you today. Peoria Sports Complex. It'll be the Padres, however, who share this complex with the Mariners. They will host the Giants, and then our last game in the Cactus League will be from Surprise. It'll be the Brewers and the Rangers as Bob Howie. As we look at just a beautiful sight with the mountains in the background. The number is on Bob. He's closed so much in his career that he can pitch as a setup, as a closer, and he's vying for that closing spot as well. You see that outstanding ratio of strikeouts to walks. Used to be in the past, if you were 2-1, that's good. He's, what is that? Nearly 4-1 strikeouts to walks.
Yeah, he's got good stuff, man. You know, it's going to be interesting to be able to have a guy where you can say, all right, we'll move Dempster back to being in the starting rotation and allow somebody else to step in and close for you. That's a great luxury for the Cubs.
Mike Morris, his first plate appearance.
Morris is great, man. I come in the game, my one at bat, I faced the closer. I remember when Tony La Russa was one of the first managers I saw do this. Dennis Eckersley used to he'd throw about the third inning of a ball game so he could face the regular 9 guys in the big leagues that he'd see during the season, as opposed to guys that he may not see at the end of a game.
Makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Morris is wondering, why didn't somebody do that today?
I've watched.
I get to face Howry.
Mariano Rivera does that every now and then. He'll pitch in the second or third inning of a ball game in spring training.
And plus, you give some of your established stars a chance to get their work in and go home.
Yes.
And not have to sit around and wait for the game to end. Cubs seem to be set with their pitching. They seem to have enough numbers with their pitching.
Yeah, and they've got some guys that they can do some combinational things with. I mean, even, they're talking about the 7 guys that are vying for those starts. Even Dempster, if he wasn't able to show that he could start again, they can move him back to the bullpen, and that's not a bad proposition either.
The last time Dempster started was, about 4 years ago with the Marlins?
Yeah, I had an interesting talk with him the other day. Obviously you got to build your arm strength back up to be able to go. But the biggest difference, he said, is as a closer, you're not holding anything back. You're not trying to be economical with your pitches. You're just thinking, get 3 outs. As a starter, you're saying, uh-oh, I'm in trouble in the first inning, but I don't want to, give too much maximum effort because I'm going to need it again in the third inning. He said that's the biggest difference.
The payoff pitch fouled off to the right. May have been out of the strike zone, but you don't have a lot of reaction time. It's 60 feet, 6 inches.
Well, sometimes guys, they throw a good cutter. It gets right to the plate and cuts on you at the last second, and you end up with a swing like you just saw out of Mike.
And now he may try to come back inside. There's a drop. Deep to left. And what did it hit off of?
Well, it looked like it hit off the screen. It's got to clear the whole yellow out there, but carry him back. It's a nice at bat for Mike Morris. He fouled off a tough pitch, and then you called it. He might go back inside, and he did, and he turned on it.
The Mariners still need a few base runners to tie this contest, batting in the bottom of the 9th, trailing by 4.
Well, that was one of the bright spots of the day, though, for Seattle. It's been a boring offensive game for Seattle. They haven't hit very many balls hard. We've seen some nubbers and guys trying to move runners over, but really nobody driving the ball. That was the biggest blow of the day for them.
Jamie Burke, this will be Jamie's first plate appearance. Mariners catcher. And there's a strike.
Jamie Burke has been around a long time. I used to work out with Jamie Burke when he was at Oregon State. And he spent a lot of time in the minor leagues and worked himself back to I shouldn't even say back to the big leagues, to the big leagues after about 12 years in the minor leagues.
Yeah, got up at age 29, now 36 years of age.
Yeah, so good for him.
How do you persevere in the minor leagues as a position player until you're 29 years of age? You've got to really want it.
Yeah, and you got to get an opportunity too, because usually they say, "Oh, you're too old," and you got to move on down the road. But he obviously playing the position of catcher allowed him to stick around a little bit longer, because not a whole lot of people can catch and throw and be able to call a ball game, and that gave him an opportunity to be able to do that.
Last year had 34 hits and a 3.01 average, so he can, on those days where Jojima doesn't start, he's not going to hurt you with the bat. Usually you just want the catcher to be able to catch and throw. But if you can catch, throw, and throw on a few base hits.
Yeah, you would think somebody would have noticed that.
Before age 29.
Yeah. You know, Wade Boggs spent a lot of time in the minor leagues too. There's been a lot of players that have toiled around the minors for quite a while till somebody said, we'll give them an opportunity.
Now, did you sign out of junior college?
Yeah, I actually went to San Diego State, transferred to a JC, and then was going to transfer back to a major. But I got drafted by the Mariners in the first round, and that's when I signed out of there after playing the summer in Fairbanks, and then signed with Seattle.
What is the night of the midnight sun like?
That's a tremendous game. You play a game that starts at midnight with no artificial lighting. And it's as bright as it is right now at midnight.
Morris at second. Mariners trail by 4, batting in the bottom of the 9th. Howery delivers a broken bat grounder into the hole. Morris advances from second to third, and what a throw to retire Burke. Round number 1.
Wow, that is a big league arm right there, and you wonder where that term big league arm comes from. Well, it's a play like this where the guy can get in the hole, look at him set and throw. And now what makes the difference with that throw is watch how it went through the first baseman. There wasn't a loop over there. That ball was going through the first baseman into the stands if he doesn't catch it. That's a gun.
So Blanco can show you what limited time he's been out there something today. So everybody knows he's got a gun. Not only do the Cubs know it, but who knows if they need somebody in the trade, and they'll say, hey, how about that Blanco guy?
Well, that was always a perspective of younger players. I always felt like you should have the perspective. You're playing for 30 teams, you know, and if you show off your arm like he did right there, that's why you throw that ball. You may not get him, but you throw it and let people see what you have, and all of a sudden he's on our radar now. I didn't know about Blanco before the day. I didn't know he could throw like that. Now he's on my radar. And that's what happens with a lot of scouts, and before you know it, you're throwing somebody's name in the trade, and you're saying, well, I want that Blanco kid. I think he can come in late in the game for me and make a play.
You alluded to something that reminded me of what Joe Klein said, who was a general manager in Texas and Detroit and was my first professional manager. He said the money is green everywhere. Line drive, base hit off the bat of Brian LaHare. And LaHare drives in his first run on his second hit of the afternoon. Mariners now trail by 3.
Well, LaHare picked up some green money right there. He's been swinging the bat. He had the double in right center field, his first at bat, and right there, this ball in the right field. Looks like he hooks the ball a little bit. He's a guy who likes to pull the baseball, but he's done well today. What I mean by hook, you see that top hand get on top of it, and just he hooks the ball into right field, but nice looking swing.
Usually if you hook, you have a little more dominance with your top hand as opposed to your bottom hand.
Thank you. I'm glad you explained that. You hook. Don't you know what a hook is? You hook. No.
Generally.
Thanks for explaining
they
that.
They don't teach that kind of swing because most people are more bottom hand, or at least the hitting coaches want you to use the bottom hand more, because when you tend to top the ball, you get on top of it, as you might imagine, and you roll on it. I knew that because I was more of a top hand kind of person.
Well, that was, it seems like hitting depends on the decade that you're playing in. Now it's the hit through it and release, and the term is stay through the baseball. When in the mid 80s and 90s or early 80s, it was, top hand like that right there. Here, top that ball and hooked it.
So it gets a base hit to right field. So that'll bring up the tying run to the plate.
Well, the positive for the Mariners, they're doing it off of a quality major league pitcher. So if you're Morris, you're feeling good about yourself. Lanier with the nice knock, and then Hewitt right here. Hewitt shows me something with, I got a runner on first base, I want to shoot that hole if I get an opportunity, and he did it. So he shows you not only he can hit the ball, but he had a little knowledge and understanding of what he was trying to do.
Larry Rothschild wants to know how Bob is feeling out there.
He's like, Bob, we didn't bring nobody else over here now. You got to get somebody out.
We don't have time to go to Mesa to get anybody else. Bronson Sardina. As you said, nobody else.
No.
So this is it. This is Bronson's second plate appearance. He took the bat back to the dugout in his first. A little bit of showtime last year. However, he sets for the 1-0. Glances back at second.
They've been throwing him a lot of off speed. Remember his first strikeout, he got struck out on a 3-2 breaking ball by the left-handed pitcher to end the inning. Not that lefty, but another left-hander. And now they start him off a little bit of a little change up there on a 1-0 pitch.
Carmen Pignatello, the left-hander, warming up. Now resets the 1-1, and it appears he's getting a steady diet of split fingers or sliders. Bronson.
Howard said, "I'm done messing around now. I got to get somebody out."
Yeah, my teammates want to go inside and shower and get something to eat.
So Daniel looks like he can hit, though. You know, he just looks like one of those guys that just you can hit. There was an old player named Larry Milburn. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Larry used to say he looks hitterish.
Larry, infielder with Seattle most of his career, a little bit with the Yankees.
Yep.
Now he threw him a fastball after throwing him the splits. Now let's see if he comes back with the split, just to change your eye level just a little bit.
Yeah, you know, if he's looking for a strikeout pitch, I think he's got enough pitches thrown now to get his work in. Now it's time to go ahead and get an out.
Another 1-2. Oh,
well, that's the other thing too with Howard. You know, you come over here and you say, all right, we're going to give him 20 pitches or 15 pitches or whatever it might be, and that's why they've now rushed somebody up in the bullpen, because he's probably right at that point where they don't want him throwing more than 20-25 pitches, and he's coming out of this game regardless of the situation.
Especially this early. The 2-2. Sky foul off to our left. So we have a bit of a battle here, as the Mariners have the potential tying run at the plate, trailing 6-3 in the bottom of the ninth.
That young man made a heck of a catch right there, Billy. Brought his glove to the ballpark and was able to catch a ball. How often do you see that? A guy brings his glove to the park and the ball flies to him.
Do you catch balls as a broadcaster the same way you did?
I get out of the way, man. This ball hit hard. Come back here to the booth. I'm like, forget that.
I was saying yesterday, it sounds as though it has radar on it. No matter where you go, it's following you. So trying to get out of the way. LaHare at second, Hewlett at first. The set for the payoff pitch. And ball, base hit to right. LaHare being held at third now as the ball is misplayed by Colvin. LaHare is waved in. Mariners score. It is now 6-4. Well, they say base hit RBI. They didn't see San Palazzo hold.
Yeah, that's a hit and an error right there, because he wasn't going to send him. Not down 3 at the time.
So well, that'll put the tying runs on base and the potential walk-off home run at the plate.
Miguel Cairo. Well, I think Howard's in trouble right now, not because of the situation, but just pitch count. I can't see him going much further if he continues to struggle. This is probably his last batter regardless.
I don't know. A veteran like Bob, do you even...
Oh, you're not worried about it?
Not worried about that?
No, it's just
too early in spring training. You're just getting loose and working on things. And cued. Shallow right center. Oh, dropped safely for a base hit. A runner is in. Hewlett. And the Mariners now trail 6-5. And on the play, the tying run moves to third base.
Well, the Mariners stage a nice comeback. You know, I'm surprised that Howard's still out there. This might be why they're stalling a little bit. A few more pitches thrown out there. And unless he hits a bullet right at somebody, they're not going to double him up. So if he puts the ball in play, we're looking at a tie game.
Wellington Castillo, the catcher, went out to give the signs to the middle infielders as to what he will do if Cairo takes off from first. And Miguel has a healthy lead.
Big lead. Howard seems to be up with everything. That was a split that hung in the eyes of Charlton Jimerson right there, and he's up there hacking, being aggressive.
Jimerson does have a good athletic build about him. Looks like he could impress, and we talked about his speed. Saw a little bit of that in the game yesterday. He's behind the count 0-1. Now 0-2.
Pitch right there. That's the best ball he's thrown all day right there. Now, if you're the Cubs and this is week 5 of spring training, then I'm a little worried about Howery. But right now, this early in camp, I'm not too worried about him. I just, main thing, again, it goes back to health. But he hasn't located or shown that he can locate like he's capable of right now.
Castillo slides the target outside for the 0-2.
Nasty.
That was the split. So the Mariners down to their last out.
And if you're the Mariners, that's a situation you just hope Jimerson puts the ball in play, because like I was saying, more than likely not going to double him up, and you're looking at tying this ball game up. But he is doing it against one of the top closers in the game. So.
Tuiasa Sopo, the batter. For Matt, this is his second plate appearance. Hit into a force play, his first. Mariners down to their last out. They have the tying run at third, and the pitch cut on and missed.
It looks like Bobby got serious. It was like, okay, I've embarrassed myself enough. I can't locate it. Here we go.
Had a good regular season. Had an even better postseason last year. And 10 appearances. Second pitch here, the check swing. I think he should. Maybe the Cubs aren't the only people that want to go home. Used to be that in the National League, you took that bat off your shoulders, it was a strike. The American League, I think, because they throw more breaking balls, will allow you to go a little bit further on your check swings. Nevertheless, Matt behind the count 0-2.
Good play right there by the catcher.
Castillo moving to his right.
Again, it's just the little things that I see in a game, like Castillo blocking that ball right there. That's saving you from a runner at second base, tie ball game with a batter at the plate, now getting back to somewhat of a hitter's count.
And veteran major leaguer Greg Norton on deck.
Yeah.
Howery sets for the 1-2. Runner takes off. Cairo had a great jump, and he represents the winning run.
Well, he had a big lead, and Howery obviously is not going to worry about Cairo. He's thinking, I can get that batter. All this mess is over with anyway. It was a great jump. No chance for catcher to throw him out. But as a hitter, you feel a lot more comfortable 2-2 than you do 0-2.
And the pitch. Cut on and missed, strike 3. So the Cubs pitch in and out of danger in the Mariners' half in the 9th inning, but hang on to win by the score of 6-5. So the Mariners, with the loss, they drop to 2-2. 2-hour and 44-minute contest. That's one of the quicker games we have had this spring. And, well, we've seen so many good things, and Harold has pointed them out the whole game, what the managers will look for in these situations. And we've seen good pitching at times, good hitting, good situational hitting, some outstanding defensive plays, and the result is a 6-5 game, and the Cubs hang on to win.
Well, I think spring training, I've never been a big believer in necessarily who wins or loses on the scoreboard at the end of the day. It's the little things of execution. What are you looking for? What's going to help your team as the team develops heading into spring training? And I've always thought the last 10 days of spring training are the most important days. You got all your starters, you filtered out all the guys that are going to go back to the minor leagues, and here's the team, and let's start getting executed, getting ready to play. And right now, this is all just training ground, and you're picking and choosing to make sure guys are getting their work in and executing when they have opportunity.
Now, how do you feel, Harold, about where you are as a team? Do you have to have wins if you're a team that played, I don't know, 400 ball the previous year, and does it mean quite as much if you're a team that won the World Series like the Red Sox, or were certainly in the postseason as the Cubs were last year?
Well, I think it depends on the team. Once again, it's a situation by situation deal.
Well, the Cubs certainly are happy with some of their pitching this afternoon, and our own Ed Randall down there with the pitching coach, Larry Rothschild. Ed?
Thanks, Billy. Howie got his work in and certainly showed those last two batters his experience.
Yeah, he's really ahead of where he was last spring, velocity-wise, and it takes him a while before he starts locating, but he's not been a spring training pitcher at all. But it's really been normally because of the arm strength, and today I thought the arm strength was better, so we can build from here.
Are we watching your closer in the 9th inning?
Well, it's a possibility. I mean, he's a guy, if you look at his track record, it's pretty impressive, and he's going to come in and throw strikes, and he gave up some hits to left-hand hitters today, but has been very effective against left-hand hitters. So this is spring training for him, and he's a guy that goes after it all the time, but his arm strength isn't always there this early in the year, and the location today was off.
And the comebacker to John Lieber, considering the fact that he had problems with his right foot last year, you must have been holding your breath, but otherwise 2 good innings.
No, he's fine. He took it right off the bottom of the shoe, and I don't even know if he felt it at all. But we need to keep him healthy, and he threw okay today. He got some pitches down into the left-hand hitters that you don't want to do, but other than that, I thought he was okay.
Hill, Zambrano, and Lilly in no particular order as your top. Well, Zambrano, of course, your ace, but after that, wide open.
Well, you've got Marquis, Dempster, Sean Marshall you saw today, a kid named Sean Gallagher, and we'll see. John Lieber obviously is in there, so we'll see what happens.
Larry, thanks so much for being with us, and the best of the Cubs. Guys?
Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Larry. And Sean Marshall threw the ball extremely well, I thought, this afternoon. So if he's vying for that 4th or 5th spot, I think he gave a good indication as to what he can do. And he did well last year, ERA of 3.92.
Yeah, I was impressed with him. He's got the good breaking ball. He got himself out of a couple of jams with the double play ball, so he knows the situation. And Samardzija was impressive. That was the first time I got a chance to see him in person, and first time I got a chance to see him pitch. And obviously, great athlete, but when you make an investment like the Cubs, and now that investment is also not only financially, but it is also a person that was on a big stage in college football that they follow. So it's also a name that people follow and see how he's doing.
Once again, the Cubs hold on to defeat the Mariners 6-5. Harold and I will be back with totals and highlights on our postgame show right after this. You're watching Cactus League Baseball on MLB.tv. And the Chicago Cubs improve their spring training record to 2-3 by holding on to defeat the Seattle Mariners by the score of 6-5. 6 runs, 14 hits, errorless ball for the Cubs. They leave 8. The Mariners 5-9-0 as well, playing errorless ball. They leave 6. Jeff Samardzija, the winner, and Robert Roba takes the loss. Good start for the Cubs offensively, and then they had to hold on as the Mariners start swinging the bats and swinging them well of late. And somebody like Miguel Cairo, a veteran that, Harold, you were talking about earlier, just the kind of player that a team that's going somewhere, and we sense that the Mariners are going somewhere this year, could really use.
Yeah, he knows how to come in late in the ball game and understands his role when he hasn't played for a few days and be able to be effective. But let's look at the game recap today. Fox is the player of the game. I mean, he went off today for the Cubs. I thought he swung the bat real well. Even the times he made outs, he swung the bat good. He's 2 for 5, RBI, the double and triple. Cintron had a big game. It's just 1 for 3, but fundamentally he did the little things he needs to do to be effective for this club. Samardzija, the winning pitcher, had a nice little sinker, and he threw a lot of ground balls, pitched very well, and Jared Washburn was his consistent self, working fast, and we zipped through those first 3 innings because of him.
And you alluded to it, Harold, the player of the game, because of the way that he swung the bat. He's been swinging the bat well all spring to this point. He has a home run. He had a home run coming in to today's contest, and Jake Fox went 2 for 5, and he's our MLB.TV player of the game.
Get over there, big man.
Watching to make sure that his RBI was going to score.
Yeah, get in there for me. I'm fighting for a job. I need that ribby.
It's going to look good in the stat sheets. Well, once again, the final score is 6-5. Tomorrow we come to you from Peoria, as we did yesterday or Friday and today, and it'll be the Padres hosting the Giants. And then we finish out our Cactus League broadcast with the Rangers and the Brewers. But tomorrow, Giants and Padres, same time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. So for Harold Reynolds and Ed Randall and the hard-working people behind the scenes at MLB.TV, I'm Billy Sample. Hope you enjoyed our broadcast on MLB.TV. Once again, the final score, the Cubs hang on to defeat the Mariners 6-5. Until tomorrow, so long, everybody.